This is Councilor James Burke, Chair of the City Council's Public Works Committee. Going to call to order the Public Works Committee meeting of December 7th, 6 o'clock. I'll just quickly read some of the logistics of the meeting. Due to the ongoing national and state public health emergency caused by the global coronavirus pandemic, City of New London public meetings will be held virtually. Meeting agendas can be found at newlondonct.org. An audio recording of this meeting will be posted on the city website within 7 days of the meeting. Public comment may be submitted in writing to jstarts@newlondonct.org. If you prefer, you may sign up to speak at the following link on the City of New London website, newlondonct.org/live-stream. This link will bring you to a fillable form where you may submit your name and be added to the public comment list and called on via Zoom during the public comment portion of the meeting. Public comment must be submitted in writing or your name submitted on the fillable sign-up form on the city website at least 15 minutes prior to the start time of the scheduled meeting. Please include your address in written public comment submissions. And at this time, I would like to welcome, we have all three members of the Public Works Committee here, myself, James Burke, Chairman, City Councilor John Sadie, President Pro Temp Alma Nartades. I'd also like to welcome other city councilors present. We have President Dominguez, Councilor Rihanna Dice, and Councilor Kevin Booker Jr. Next order of business is public comment. I have one public comment which was submitted in writing that I'll go ahead and read at this time. The public comment is from Elliot R. Shaw, who is a resident of New London. Hi, this is a letter in support of reverting to the $5 charge for dumping brush at the New London transfer station. Given the exorbitantly high taxes property owners in New London pay due to the city overvaluing their homes, a charge for residents to dump brush seems superfluous in the first place. If there must be a fee, $5 conforms more accordingly with the rate surrounding cities and towns charge. Many don't charge anything for brush. I hope this provides some perspective. That's from Elliot R. Shaw. And at this point, just to confirm, to our Council Secretary, Jenny Starts, were there any other public comment submissions?
No.
This is Councilor James Burke. Thank you very much for that, Jenny. Moving right on into a discussion and possible changes to the fee for brush and leaves at New London Transfer Station. I'm going to turn it over in a moment to Public Works Director Brian Sear for an overview, but just to, for anyone in the public that happens to be listening, just to let you know, this meeting, we will not be taking any action on any changes. We're going to use this time to discuss the situation and as a brainstorming session of possible changes in the future, but no action will come out of this meeting tonight. So with that, I will turn it over. If you'd like to just provide us a brief summary, Director Sear.
Thank you. Good evening, councilors. Yes, to give an overview, we've had an ongoing issue with the logistics of collecting brush within the city. We've traditionally collected that near our Public Works complex at the intersection of Lewis and Crystal Avenues. Originally, we had brush across Crystal Avenue and some discussions with the state regarding opportunities for our transfer station operation going forward. The question, the state DOT representatives came out and visited the site. One of the things they noticed was the brush. They were concerned with it directly under the bridge across Crystal Avenue. We moved the site across the street to its present location, a little bit away from the bridge. And it's been an issue that we've had in the past. It's never gotten as unmanageable as it is currently. So the amount of brush that was collected and our basic kind of inability to kind of police what was taking place, I decided to, in the best interest of the city, from a logistical standpoint, also from a cost standpoint, to set a policy whereas only brush would be collected, and that from the state, I was advised by the State Department of Environmental Protection that we only are obligated legally to accept brush from New London, from the New London city limits, if you will. So I put a form together that each person bringing brush would attest that that brush did come from an address in the city of New London, and they would sign their name and they would say the address it came from. At the same time, I did consult with our city attorney regarding what ordinances were in place that would be applicable to brush both from a collection standpoint, from a cost standpoint. And I was advised it was ordinance, I believe, 11-54 that addressed that. And I was advised that within the current ordinance language, that a fee structure is in place for a pickup truck load with a trailer of $15, and then a dump truck or larger truck, $25. So for the past 2 weeks, we have implemented a policy of everybody who brings brush to the facility must go to the scale house, must show a proof of origination of brush within the limits of the city of New London, and must pay based on that current rate. And then they are provided a key of access to across the street to get in and deposit their brush. And while this imposes certain delays or inconvenience, if you will, on the city residents, we have to end up with a position where only brush from the city is accepted, because it just accumulates from other towns, and when they can come in and dump and be indiscriminate and not have to go through our scale house or not have control over the operation, it just results in too big a problem for the neighbors, for us, the cost, the hassle of having to deal with it. I believe that's an overview where we are. I wanted to bring it to the city council's attention so that everybody had their input in and determined what would be fair and equitable, a fee arrangement for the city, and also to fill you in on what we are doing and why. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Sear. Real quick before I open it up to the other councilors for questions, I just wanted to follow up on perhaps if you could additionally explain that, previously we were charging $5 for a pickup truck. I know personally I found it on the city website still advertised in that. I see now that that's changed, so thank you very much for that. So if you could just dive a little bit more specifically, or perhaps if the law director wants to pipe in on how historically we were charging $5 for a pickup truck, despite it being written as $15 into the current ordinance.
I'll take a stab at that. I had never looked in and determined where that rate came from. I think it was a grandfathered rate that was just in place. As far as I knew, ever since I started with the city in 2015, that's as much knowledge as I have.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, Director Sear. This is Councilor Burke. With that, I'll open it up to committee members. First, President Pro Tem Nartades, any questions at the moment?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So just to be clear, so the ordinance 1154 states that it should be, and it's in writing, it was passed, should be $15 or $5. I'm unclear with that. What does the ordinance 1154 say? That's for Director Sear.
Is City Attorney Londrigan present in this discussion?
Yeah, the Attorney Jeffrey Londrigan here. I think I can explain, or I'll do my best, I think, to help everybody. So 11-54 sets the fees. And so I'm going to read through what 11-54 provides, and then I'll give you two hypotheticals, and hopefully it helps clarify what the situation is, independent of what the city might have done in the past, or was or was not doing. This is the fee structure as should be implemented by Public Works and by the city, based upon what has been adopted by prior city councils. So the first thing you have is a permit fee, and there's a day permit fee, and then residents or property owners can get an annual permit fee. And then there's an annual contractor permit fee, and that is a fee for just basically showing up to the transfer station. Then on top of that permit fee, we have disposal fees, and disposal fees say for a car or a pickup truck or a trailer per load, it is $15. And then for a gross vehicle weight dump truck over 10,000 pounds, it's $25 per load, okay? And that is a fee for any of the types of rubbish, garbage that is defined under our purchasing ordinances. So that covers across the board. Then it goes on to say that there is a resident fee waiver, and it says that city residents shall be granted an annual waiver of the disposal fee for 4-car pickup or trailer loads of acceptable bulky waste generated from their residence. Okay, so that waiver basically says that between July 1 and January 30 each year, a resident can bring 4 loads of bulky waste to the transfer station and can get a waiver of that $15 disposal fee, excuse me. So hypothetically, I live in the city of New London. I am cleaning out my basement. I load up my car or my truck with an old couch, an end table, a bunch of bulky waste, and I bring it to the transfer station. I should pay $5 for a day permit to be there to dump for the day that I'm arriving. And I can get a waiver of the $15 carload disposal fee. And so I can unload all of my stuff for $5. And I can do that 3 more times during the fiscal year. So obviously, if I'm only going to go 4 times, I should pay a day rate every time I go rather than get the annual rate and save $5. But that's how that hypothetical should operate. If I show up with a truckload of bags of yard debris, leaves, and brush, I should be charged either $5 for a day permit, or if I bought an annual pass, just show my annual pass. But let's say I don't. I show up with my $5 for my day pass, and I should pay $15 for my truckload or carload or trailer load, because the disposal fee is $15, and that waiver is only for bulky waste, not yard debris and brush, because we identify and define those 2 categories of waste separately. So
Okay.
that is how the current ordinance is set up. And obviously the council can review whether or not it wants to include a waiver for brush and leaves, etc.
So thank you, Attorney Londergan. So a couple things. One, it sounds complicated. It sounds like you need somebody, a resource full-time to be tracking this. Do we even have that type of resources? This is a question for the director, Sears. I mean, are we tracking this?
Actually, we don't. Not to, we're doing our best to cover things with available staff. That transfer station does get very busy. One of the logistical problems with the brush site was it was not within eyesight of the scale house, and we just didn't. The ideal on brush, I'll get back to the other, but the ideal on brush is you would be able to have personnel supervise the coming and goings of the actual brush pile. We just can't. We can't do that. Attorney Londergan, I don't want to muddy the waters, but while we're at it, I think we should kind of sort all this out. It's my understanding that we are charging for bulky waste. We are charging a per ton rate for bulky waste for residents with a minimum of a $5 charge for that. And if you go to the website and you look up that list of what we charge, that's on there. So I don't want to muddy the waters, but potentially maybe we want to address all of these issues at this time. And from an operational standpoint, I think the simplest arrangement we have and the most easily communicated to the residents going forward, again, as you're alluding to, would be most helpful. If we have punch tickets or we have a lot of data to keep track of on an ongoing basis at the station, that would be an increased a challenge to our staff. Thanks.
Okay, so, and I'll just, Chair Burke, I'll just wrap it up. I mean, the council has know, we have the power to revise that ordinance, right? To streamline the process and make it easier, to check the fees and make sure that we're charging appropriately. The process sounds complicated to me without even thinking about the fees. And another thing I just want to comment is that I have overheard people saying that we have people from other municipalities dumping in New London. And I think that's, because we don't have the manpower to watch over that. And so this is a great opportunity, and thank you for having this meeting, because we need to talk about it, start the dialogue to see how we can contain this and make it fair to the residents of New London. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, President Pro Temp. This is Chairman Burke, and I'll now go to Committee Member John Sadi. Any questions at this point?
Both questions and comments. Thank you, Mr. Seer, for your presentation. The annual fee has not been imposed in over a decade, and I believe it's a great idea, and it should be reinstated if it isn't. Back in the day, you used to buy a sticker for your windshield, and it cost you $25, and that gave you the opportunity to dump. Regarding the tonnage, if you bring metal to the transfer station, you do not pay, because we actually get paid to haul it out. If you bring box springs and mattresses or electronics equipment, you are not required to pay a bulky fee either, because again, we get, the state of Connecticut pays to have that stuff removed. My question to you, Director Seer, through the chair, is what does it cost us to mulch up the brush and the leaves? Is there a cost to the city of New London?
Financial cost, not to grind it up, no.
If I'm not correct, please correct me if I'm wrong, but does SCARA come down here and do that for free, gratis?
They do the grinding for free. What they don't take, we have to pay to haul. We have an arrangement with Waterford where we can haul brush and the extra mulch to Waterford. So we have to pay for that hauling. We do not pay them an extra charge to come down and grind our brush. But I will add that we're currently in a very challenging situation with neighbors. I think it's based on the amount of grinding that we've done on site. But they've had a real problem with that. And my goal is going forward, I want to control the brush to the point where we can haul that to Waterford in its raw form, but we don't need, the ideal is not to do any grinding on the site. But I'm kind of answering your question, but there's no cost to us now financially, but there's a serious cost, if you will, at the inconvenience that it poses, or possible hazard it poses to direct neighbors of the site. Thanks.
Thank you. And I will say that since you've imposed locking the site back up, as opposed to just having people have free reign, it's definitely in much better control. And it also helps that SCARA did just come down and grind, because the site was getting very full. I believe that let me just say, the complaints that I've got from most people, because I'm at the transfer station 3 to 4 times every day, dumping brush, leaves, or whatever. The complaints that I'm receiving is, number one, that we pay taxes. Why should we have to pay an additional fee? And the second one is that a guy will come in with a small pickup truck with 5 or 10 bags, and they're charged $15. They just think that's exorbitant. You also have a resident come in, maybe in a Soul or whatever, with 4 or 5 bags, and again, they're also charged. And none of them have been told about the resident waiver fee. I think that would take a lot off if residents were allowed to go 4 times. And I understand what Attorney Lonergan says, that's just for bulky waste. And I don't believe that those waivers are done anymore. I believe that everybody pays for every trip. But that's all I have at this point in time. But Councilor Burke, thank you very much for the opportunity to address it.
Thank you very much, Councilor Sadi. I definitely have some questions myself, but first we'll go to non-committee members. Any other councilors on the line wish to ask either Director Sear or Attorney Lonergan any questions at this moment? Councilor Dice, go ahead.
This is Councilor Dice. And my question is, so really not a question. I'm glad, first of all, Director Sears, that you brought this up, because we need to have everything unified and for the residents to understand what they should be paying, and for us to really to make sure that we're serving our community. So documenting or having a way to for people to prove where they live at. So basically, I'm just glad to be able to sit on this meeting, and thank you, Director Sears, for bringing this up to our attention. And I hope if there is a fee, that we're looking at the revenue that it can generate, because it looked like we haven't been charging yearly fees, and I wonder, are we tracking, like Councilor Sadi was saying, that some people who've been dumping been getting charged? I'm just curious about how much revenue is being brought in looking at that. This is Councilor Dice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Dice. Any other councilors? President Dominguez, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Director Sear. This, you know what? I'll tell you this. I think it was 2 weeks ago, I went in to dump some leaves, and I got stopped, and which is fine. But I totally had forgotten that we had, that we had passed this ordinance. So I understand. The only thing, the issue with me is that is this being notified about the waivers that people have of the bulky waste? That's my thing. Because I did see the big signage which says, statute so-and-so, that from now on, the dumping of, of leaves and so on. But I didn't see that being promoted or posted somewhere. So I think that needs to get out, just to make sure that, people know and realize that for bulky waste, you could have a waiver like Attorney Lonergan stated, if I believe right, 4 times a year. That can happen. But I understand, just I guess it's just that question to hopefully that we can, is there a plan to have that announced? I mean, I don't know how you have announced it. I know that the signage was there for the ordinance, but the rest, I don't know. Go ahead, sir.
Chairman?
Yes, go ahead, Director Sear.
Okay. My hope is that in what we're, rather than starting down the road of the annual fee, but then a waiver and that sort of thing, if you decide that, if we all together decide that that's the way we want to go, I think that's the time to communicate that. But I wouldn't want to start doing that until we all had reviewed all of this, because if we can make all these parts clear in one message, I think that would be initially the brush. You understand why I'm trying to get a hold of the brush, but I think now I think we should look at the entire picture and see what's best for the residents of New London at this moment and going forward together, and then we can communicate that. That's my point.
Yep. Thank you. This is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Director Sear. I'm all set, Councilor.
Thank you very much, President Dominguez. This is Councilor Burke. Any other councilors have questions at this time? All right. Seeing none, I'll just start off with a quick comment. First of all, Director Sear, thank you very much, for taking the initiative on this. I mean, we spoke about how, quite frankly, the neighborhood where the transfer station is, it's already underneath the highway. People in the summertime, when it's hot out, having windows open and having, excess stuff coming out of the grinder, reducing their air quality, is something that definitely needs to be addressed. So I appreciate you addressing that. And, as this conversation went forward, although, it's a conversation specifically about the brush fee, I think that, so this document, I'm looking at the current fee schedule, which looks like it was updated this month. on the city website, perhaps we need to look at more than just the brush fee. Perhaps, for example, we had this ordinance, for $15 on the record, yet we're charging $5, which was previously posted on the city website, and no one seems to really know the history of that. And, I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus, because I think, the folks down at the transfer station and the Public Works Department does the best they can with the resources that they have. And, also brings up other questions. I think it's definitely the right idea to not take brush from outside communities. Perhaps as we're making these decisions, we can look at, because people previously, when we did take it from outside New Londoners and they were charged a higher fee, is that, I doubt it, but is that going to create a revenue loss? So these are just some other questions I have. And, I'll give one example of how possible solutions, as Attorney Londrigan was talking about, though, the resident waivers for bulky waste, because quite frankly, I do think $15 is steep, especially for, our hardworking people here in New London. Should it be back to $5? Should it be somewhere in the middle? Should it be 10? Maybe should it be 10, but we extend those waivers to 4 times a year for residents? Those are just, I'm just spitballing to see that I think there's definitely some possible rooms to improve upon this. So I would love to, just continue to engage this discussion with the other counselors. Perhaps if counselors have more specific feedback on this, they can get that to me, and I can work with Director Sear on perhaps putting a proposal for amending that ordinance at the next meeting. But I mean, for the meeting here, I don't have any other questions per se. Just to sort of get that out there, that I thank everybody for, being here and getting their opinion, and I hope that we can come up to an arrangement that's, good for the city, good for the workers at the transfer station, and good for the residents. So, Director Sear, do you have anything in closing that you'd like to add?
No, thanks for your patience, and I look forward to solving the logistical issue up there, helping the neighborhood out, making it manageable for our staff, and making it equitable for everybody in the city. Thanks.
This is Councilor Burke. I definitely appreciate that very much. And lastly, before we take a motion to adjourn, any other counselors have any other comments before we adjourn this evening? Alrighty, so looking for, can I call on President Pro Tem for one last motion?
Excuse me, Councilor Burke. I think that,
sorry.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, Chair. I think Councilor Sadi has his hand raised, if I'm not mistaken.
My apologies. Thank you. Thank you for catching that. Councilor Sadi,
No
floor is.
problem.
Yeah, just for the record, the $5 fee has not been charged in many, many years. I don't exactly know how many. It was charged for some time, but I would say at least in the last 5 years, there's not been a leaf or brush fee. So I know that it's been mentioned a few times here tonight that there was a $5 fee, but there hasn't been a $5 fee paid in many years. That's all I have to say.
This is Councilor Burke. Thank you for clarifying that, Councilor Sadi. Yeah, when I referenced that earlier, I was just referencing the city website used to have it posted at $5 before we essentially made this change in operation, and now the website's been updated. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we started this dialogue tonight. I'm sure that we will continue this dialogue, hopefully come to a consensus on some changes before our next meeting. But seeing as now we're just a few moments until this scheduled Finance Committee meeting, President Pro Temp.
President Pro Temp, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second, by Councilor Sadi.
Thank you, Councilor Sadi. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries, and the Public Works Committee meeting is adjourned at 6:29. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
everyone, and welcome to our Finance Committee meeting. Today is December 7th, Monday, and it's 6:30 p.m. Let me just read a couple of the logistics and we'll get right to the meeting. Due to the ongoing national and state public health emergency caused by the global coronavirus pandemic, City of New London public meetings will be held virtually. Meeting agendas can be found at www.newlondonct.org. An audio recording of this meeting will be posted on the city website within 7 days of the meeting. Public comment may be submitted in writing to jstarts@newlondonct.org. If you prefer, you may sign up to speak at the following link on the City of New London website, newlondonct.org/life-stream. This link will bring you to a fillable form where you may submit your name and you will be added to the public comment list and called on via Zoom during the public comment portion of the meeting. Public comment must be submitted in writing or your name submitted on the fillable sign-up form on the city website at least 15 minutes prior to the scheduled start of the meeting. Please include your address in your written public comment submission. Okay, so again, good evening to everyone and welcome once again to our Finance Committee meeting this evening. I just want to acknowledge all the councilors, Councilor Dice, Councilor Goodwin, President Pro Tem Nartates, Councilor Sadi, and Councilor Burke, and also Councilor Booker, who make part of this whole committee, Finance Committee. So this evening, we have no public comment, all right? And we'll get started. We want to first of all welcome the Executive Director of New London Main Street with us this evening. And we have called upon her to discuss an update on the New London Main Street this evening. So the floor is yours.
Hi.
Kristen. Hello.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. It's always great to get in front of council and give you an update. I got some information to Jenny this morning. Did everyone receive that document? I hope in an email. Okay, just to give a little background information. I don't know if anyone has questions. Did you want me to kind of give a presentation? I'm not sure how you want to handle the discussion or how
thank you. Thank you, Christine. What we'll do is this. We'll have you, President Pro Tem Nartates, would you raise your hand for it?
Yeah, just a recommendation that she did send out the stuff. I'm expecting just a short summary.
Yes,
okay.
Definitely. Yep.
Sure, I can handle that. So, for everyone, this has just been a really interesting year, to say the least. And New London Main Street is no different. So our fiscal year ends June 30th. We were pretty lucky that we were able to end our fiscal year June 30th flat. We typically do a lot of our fundraising in the spring. That's when the food stroll usually is. That's when we typically do banner sponsorships and have a fundraiser and things of that sort. And through other grants and some of the federal and state funding that came through, we were able to come up with just about the same amount of funding. We just got lucky that way. So what happens is that we fundraise in the spring and that money carries us through to the next fiscal year. So now we're sort of getting to that point of where we're in need of money, just to kind of give an idea of where our finances are. Program wise, as we mentioned, this has not been the year to have a food stroll, obviously. And some of the other programs that we do are usually pretty outward and public facing. At the same time, just like a lot of the other businesses, we've had to try and figure out, how we are able to sustain ourselves and to move forward, not just in these 3 or 6 months, but, what happens 12 months from now. So we have been looking as an organization at, what we can do to assist businesses. We've been doing a decent amount of social media related support, some e-blasts and things of that sort. And then we also moved our office, and that happened. We were notified June 1st that we had to be out by August 1st. And so We are now currently on the second floor of the Gard Arts Center in their administrative offices in a little cubicle. And that's always meant to have been a temporary solution. They were really nice to find us a spot to be able to stay there. And Isaac, the school, has moved into the space that we were formerly in. Isaac is supposed to be, it looks awful from our perspective because our sign is still up and there's paper in the windows and the blinds are down all the time. So it kind of looks like we went out of business. Isaac is supposed to be getting a sign, is my understanding. And so we thought instead of paying money to have our sign taken down, we would have it done at the same time. Clearly, we need to just get our sign down because it doesn't look good for Main Street as an organization, you know, since that had been our space previously. Because we moved and we're going to be moving again probably next month, if not in January, then in February. We haven't been as outward facing organizationally, but we do have, which I kind of outlined in the document I put together, we do have a plan for a couple of events coming up. We're going to talk to the businesses first and find out what their plans are for this winter, because this is going to be really tough for them. But we're hoping to be able to do something that's really focused on restaurants doing takeout and things of that sort in February, as well as retail events. And we can kind of theme that around sort of a Valentine's Day and how much do you love your city campaign for people to do their shopping and dining in New London. And things of that sort. But I need to do a little research first and find out, you know, what businesses are planning on doing. And then hopefully by May, things are going to be looking much better for everyone involved. And we'll be able to do something, not just a small business week. May is when National Small Business Week happens, but that we can do, I'm not sure what yet, because May is still a little while from now, but something that really celebrates getting through all of this New London business and make that sort of a month-long celebration. And so sort of in a nutshell, that's, you know, what I put on the 3 pages that I had sent out earlier. The other thing is that one thing that my job was 4 years ago was to kind of stabilize, because New London Main Street was really struggling at that point. We have been able to stabilize, but we haven't been able to grow. And that's what we're looking to do, you know, in the next, once we get through this sort of rather unstable financial time for everyone is, you know, our board has diminished, our volunteer base has diminished, and we've been able to pull in a few volunteers. We're looking to do more of that and to really be able to try and regain that, because we certainly had momentum and that's kind of fallen by the wayside, and get back to, with more volunteers working on projects, I can focus on other things as well, especially more direct business. We had been doing monthly meetings with the businesses, and that my plan is to get started back up again, hopefully in January, and move forward with that on a monthly basis. So that kind of gives you an idea of where we're at. I'm happy to answer questions, or I can describe things in more detail, whatever makes sense for all of you this evening.
Okay, this is President Dominguez. Thank you, Kristen. And just always, for everyone in general, I forgot to say it, remember, because this is being recorded, make sure that you state who you are always, whether you're speaking or answering a question, okay? So at this moment, I'm going to open up to any counselor that wishes to ask. Okay, I see Councilor Dice, you have the floor.
This is Councilor Dice. Thank you for coming, Kristen. And how many staff members do you have currently?
Me, one full-time staff person. We have no part-time staff. We have a small board of directors and a few volunteers.
Okay, thank you. This is Councilor Dice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this is President Dominguez speaking again. Let me go to another counselor that wishes to ask a question. Okay, President Pro Tem Nartates.
Thank you, President or Chair. And Kristen, yeah, I think we're, you know, as you said, we're living in really hard times right now. And I think the purpose is also is that we are really doing deep dives and scrutinizing all, you know, the money that's out there, right? That was approved for the budget that wasn't used, and really trying to say, hey, do we need to reallocate these funds to something that's tangible that we can actually do versus something that, because of the pandemic, we just can't do. And I think, the last several months, we've been having meetings with other marketing, Harry and Quinn, even Barbara Neff, looking at exactly what we approved, what we were able to execute, what the expectation is. And so that's kind of, the background of the meeting is to figure out, like, where do we have these funds that are allocated, that are earmarked, but we're just not going to be able to execute due to the pandemic. And so what we don't want to do is get to the end of the year and then, we have pots of money here and there that weren't used or used in a way that we think would have benefited the residents of New London. You get the picture, right? You're nodding.
Of course, yeah, I get it. Yeah, those are the hard, important questions that you need to be answering. And I mean, of course, I'm going to say, no, don't do that. We need our funds, but we do need those funds. So what we're working on doing, which I sort of detailed in what we're working on here, there's a few things. One is I'm looking at Main Street from the perspective of, as the director, and I am the only staff person right now, that we are forming partnerships. And I've been talking with Barbara Neff and Neff Productions, some other event planners, and saying, like, hey, I want to do it all, but I can't do it all. And Barbara Neff does an excellent job, as do others, but Barbara in particular does an excellent job planning events. So there are some events that we put together that New London Main Street will still continue to do, but I've already started talking with Barbara related to next holiday season and saying, okay, hey, how do we, can this be replicated next year? Is it just a one-off for this year? And is this something that we can partner on, that New London Main Street can use our status as a 501c3 organization, and you, whether we contract with you or, go out to bid and figure out who an appropriate event planner would be. But to be able to say, hey, we can't do this all as a small group here, bring in somebody else. And, whether it's because we're able to get grants that somebody else may not be able to get, but to be able to take what we can do and then sort of amplify that and create a multiplier effect. So related to the events, you're right, we're not doing outward facing events, but we're already looking at how we can be more effective on the event front. What we have been looking at doing is how can we get the message out more? I feel like one area where things are being missed is getting the word out to the sort of the larger, the employers that exist in the city. So not necessarily restaurants and not necessarily retailers, but law firms, financial institutions, places that, they do a lunch and learn. They order lunch for the entire, 20 people that are in the office, or 30 people in the office, or 4 people in the office, or they make a plan at some point, once we start going back out for somewhere. And so how do we make sure that those businesses on a regular basis get a ping in their office that says, hey, Right Path Organic Cafe delivers, or any of the restaurants downtown, who has delivery, who has, been able to create a good curbside pickup business, and the places, people that are thinking of going out and celebrating, which is something that people do all the time, or just to go out for the inexpensive snacks, even if you don't go for fun beverages. But so that's sort of where it's not one-on-one business services, but it's making sure that we can provide that for the businesses. And having spoken casually with them, it seems that for the restaurants and retailers, that's something that they would be interested in. We also do a lot with social media and have I think a very strong campaign that we've started doing. And I have one of our board members has brought in a few volunteers, and we have an intern that are really trying to reinvigorate our social media campaigns. So we have our social media gift giving guide going on right now, which is thematically based. And then, kind of looking forward, there will be a food stroll. There will be other events where we focus. And like I said, we are looking to do something that's going to try and drive sales and drive people into stores and restaurants coming through the winter and then coming into May. The question is, what is something like that going to look like? I mean, I think I know what that's going to look like right now, but I don't know that at the moment. The other thing is that we are going to be looking at making sure that the map that's on our website is updated and more user-friendly. Our website is several years old and it's a proprietary platform that it uses. So it's really hard for us to update it and to be able to get the word out that way as well. So those are some of the things that we're focusing on. And if the council thinks that those are valuable things, I think that those are valuable to the businesses. And if you agree with that, then I think it makes sense to keep the funding where it is. If you don't agree with that, we can talk about what other things might make sense for New London Main Street to work on. And we can do those instead or in addition to what we're planning on. It's flexible. We've been working on, sort of pivoting and making changes just like everyone else and figuring out how we can be the most effective at, assisting businesses here in New London.
Thank you for that feedback. Thank you.
Yes, that was President Pro Tem Natsatas. Thank you. This is President Dominguez. Thank you again for that feedback. Let me just call on, before I call another councilor real quick, Director Reyes. Just want to call you for the reason that, is there any way that we can, Christine can collaborate with the Office of Development and Planning? Because see, the reason, again, just going back to the reason why we call this meeting, Christine, and when I spoke to you on the phone, is just to make sure that you're able to spend that money that has been allocated, in this year. So
Yes.
you already have maybe 6 months, I think, right? Because the fiscal year ends in June 30th. So I think that's what we need. We need something that is concrete, that of course, that's I mean, your ideas you shared are great, but I just want to make sure that this is done and that you're able, since you're by yourself, like you said, and yeah, you have board members, but you need help. So is there any way that Director Reyes, that team effort that together can work?
Yeah, so thank you. This is Director Reyes. First, I just want to start off by saying I try not to put myself in positions of making any financial decisions. So what I say is just more management of money. How money gets approved and what the council approves is different. But in regards to managing and creating a better relationship, so we have better oversight over Main Street, yeah, absolutely. I look at Main Street as part of our economic development arm in downtown. So anything that's appropriated to a nonprofit that is doing economic development business, I believe should be managed by our office in some way, or have some oversight in some way, so it's easier to report. I have a direct access to the council liaison. I can better be in a position to answer questions. I can help. I can utilize Main Street in a more effective manner that helps the city. Since we're a smaller staff as well. So yeah, when it comes to business development, I think that all goes under, I think that all falls under ODP in some manner, whether it's marketing, whether it's economic development. I think that would help with future concerns about how money appropriated to Main Street is being used. That's, again, I say that that's my opinion, but when it comes to financial matters, I try not to I try not to say too much, because that's just not my lane. But in regards to management of that relationship, I feel comfortable with that being an ODP oversight and management part.
Okay, thank you. This is President Dominguez. Thank you, Director Reyes. With that, is there any other councilor that wishes to ask? Okay, Councilor Goodwin, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, President. Through you to Christian, question. The activities and the outline that you have given us, by email, and then the words that you spoke earlier, are those all for future endeavors that are happening?
So that would be for things that would happen before June 30th. And I think that these are things, once we are able to put something in place you learn, then it's easier to get it going for a future year. So putting that together now, we're not going to be doing this food stroll in May. So we would have the time to achieve these events, or these programs, I should say, for February as well as for May. Does that answer what you're...
Understood. Yeah, that
Okay.
does. And then you referenced June 1st. Is that the contract end date?
June 30th is the end of our fiscal year. And so that's typically how the funding, and that's the end of the fiscal year, I believe, for the city as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that that's the date that the funding needs to be spent by. And the funding for New London Main Street has been in a variety of places. Sometimes it has been in Office of Development and Planning. Sometimes it's been in council. It doesn't make a difference to me where the funding is. Typically, it has been for operating support so that we can continue to do our projects and programming. But I get that, making sure that, that things are effective is very important as well.
Understood. And I guess that was my last question there. Would the main allocation of this fund, or 13,000, that would be allocated specifically for oversight and salaries, I would assume?
There's nothing, we didn't have line items related to it. It's general support. So it would be, we would probably use it for marketing and things of that sort as these particular events that we're talking about. But a lot of it would be for support for staff time and things of that sort.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have no further questions.
All right, thank you. This is President Dominguez. Any other councilor? Councilor Booker? Any questions?
Yes, President Dominguez. Through you,
Yes,
President Dominguez, to Ms. Kristen Clark. Thank you very much for the update on the New London Main Street. When I look at your worksheet here that you gave, your update, I didn't see anything mentioned in regards to the holiday. When it comes to the holiday season, which is a great time for businesses as well. And as you already know, as a person who's an expert in this business, in this industry, many of the cities throughout the United States right now who are having a lot of difficulties, especially in their small businesses, have really targeted and focused on the holiday season as a way to bring in revenue for those small businesses. So my question to you for that is, what is the strategy for the next few weeks and bringing in some sort of revenue for these small businesses and restaurants? Because this is something we definitely need to execute for Main Street, which would be beneficial for our businesses who are really struggling at this moment. Thank you. Councilor.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Booker. I appreciate that. So a couple of things. One, the document I put together was meant to be really forward-looking. So I was thinking of the next 6 months and what we had kind of planned for the rest of the fiscal year. What we are doing right now is promoting, excuse me, a couple of things. One, we are doing a lot with social media, and we are promoting businesses every single day on our social media, on our Facebook and Instagram, where we have a gift giving guide. This year, we're trying a thematic guide. So one day the theme is books, for example. And so we talked about the Custom House Maritime Museum because they have a lovely selection of books. We talked about the Telegraph. We talked about Title IX books, and trying to get people to think about when they're shopping to shop local. Likewise with dining and things of that sort. We are also taking that information and then we will be putting that into eBlasts and setting that out on a weekly basis. And then we are partnering with Neff Productions for sure, and what Barbara is putting together related to the different events that are going on, and also sharing that information out. And we do have over 4,000 Facebook followers, and we have an email list of about 2,500 email addresses that goes out. So we do have a decent amount of information sharing power. So that's what we're doing in the very short term. And I didn't mean to overlook those things in what I put together. I just wanted to show where we were looking to go in the 6 months between now and the end of the fiscal year, which is why I didn't mention those a whole lot in the document I put together.
I just have another question as well. Are you also partnering with the schools to make sure you can get the word out as far as the marketing aspect go as well? And then another question too, in regards to you emphasize the fact that you're a one staff person, which is understandable. However, as a professor, I know many of my students too that are online right now, and they're always looking for internships, even ways to navigate and help businesses online, because many of them are, in their houses, but they are tech savvy. Many of my students. Have you reached out to other colleges? Because we're the beauty of our city is the fact that we have 2 colleges right in our city, and those are students who actually would love to probably even do intern for your organization. So.
Yes, Counselor Booker, we do have an intern from Connecticut College, and this is actually her 4th year working with us. And we do typically have a few interns each year. This year, it's a bit trickier because they are doing things 100% remotely. And so we're working with this particular intern because she knows us, we know her, and there wasn't an introductory process, so she was able to hit the ground running. In terms of the New London Public Schools, we have not engaged there as well as we should have, and that's something that we need to figure out more in the future. And that's an excellent suggestion. We just have to figure out how to achieve that. And
first of all, I just like to say thank you very much for mentioning that, because you also mentioned that in your report as well. I'm just thinking about as far as instead of having 1 intern, we can probably have 4 or 5 interns and capitalize on that and research and get the marketing out even more. But thank you very much. This is Counselor Booker. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. This is President Dominguez. Thank you, Counselor Booker. I have about maybe 3 minutes. Counselor Burke, I haven't called on you yet, or Sadi. So if you will like to ask a question or a comment, you are more than welcome to do so at this time. You're muted. You're muted.
This is Councilor Burke. In the interest of time, I have no questions. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. I'm going to give you the floor, okay? Councilor Sadi, just be mindful, we got about 2 minutes. I'm trying to start at 7 p.m. the council.
Thank you. Yeah, no, same as Councilor Burke, being mindful of time, I will not ask any questions at this point in time. Thank you, though, for the opportunity.
All right, thank you, Councilor Sadi, and also Councilor Burke. This is President Dominguez speaking. With this, Kristen, I'm going to make a decision here with the councilors. I did mention about ODP. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Director Reyes, the ODP, since they have marketing, they have the economic development, everything ties underneath them, for them to give you some guidance and some pointers to make sure that we're able to accomplish, the goal, which is to expend and spend the money that has been allocated to you, okay? To give you some ideas and some help on that area. Director Reyes, is that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what the council is looking for this evening is just accountability, is looking for how this money is being defined, and in this tough time, I think we all understand, all the nonprofits are struggling financially. I'll be more than happy to work with Kristen to make sure that we report back a concrete update on how those funds are being utilized, and make sure that there's a high level of impact to that is utilized. And I'll make sure that I will respond. I'll use Curtis Goodwin as my liaison and report back to him on how that funding is being used.
Thank you. This is President Dominguez. Thank you for that. Christian, thank you so much. And again, it's just because, the times are difficult, the pandemic, we understand all that, so it's nothing, against you or on the Main Street. We just want to make sure that the money that was allocated, again, because it's taxpayers' money, that we're doing, following through with everything. Okay. And you're going to have the help. Okay.
Of course. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
You're welcome. Thank you, Christine. All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you. At this time, I'm looking for a motion.
This is President Pro Tem. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
This is Councilor Dice. I second that motion.
Okay, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Okay, this meeting adjourns at 6:59 PM. All right, with that, in about a minute, we'll start the city council. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome to our city council meeting here at the great city of New London. Today is December 7th, 2020. And before we get started, let me just read the logistics really quick. Due to the ongoing national and state public health emergency caused by the global coronavirus pandemic, City of New London public meetings will be held virtually. Meeting agendas can be found at www.newlondonct.org. An audio recording of this meeting will be posted on the city website within 7 days of the meeting. Public comment may be submitted in writing to jstarts@newlondonct.org. If you prefer, you may sign up to speak at the following link on the City of New London website, newlondonct.org/live-stream. This link will bring you to a fillable form where you may submit your name and you will be added to the public comment list and called on via Zoom during the public comment portion of the meeting. Public comment must be submitted in writing or your name submitted on the fillable sign-up form on the city website at least 15 minutes prior to the scheduled start time of the meeting. Please include your address in your written public comment submission. So again, I want to welcome everyone to the meeting, and I'll have City Clerk Ayala do the roll call, please.
President Dominguez,
Present.
President Pro Tem Natartes, Councilor Dice,
Present.
Councilor Sade,
Present.
Councilor Burke,
Present.
Councilor Goodwin,
Present.
Councilor Booker Jr.,
President.
all present.
Okay, this is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, City Clerk Ayala. At this time, I'm going to do the prayer and the pledge. And then afterwards, I'm going to ask Mayor Pastoral, who's going to have a presentation. Okay? All right. So, Father, we thank you this evening. Thank you for allowing us to come together once again to be meeting together to make decisions that are going to favor and benefit the city of New London and its residents. We pray this in your name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And at this time, I don't know if Daniel, can you put the flag for us on the screen? All right, thank you, sir. All right, at this time, we'll do the pledge. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Prometo lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América, a la república que representa una nación ante Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Okay, thank you. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Michael Pastoral.
Good evening, President Dominguez, members of council. What I'd like to do right now is recognize the great work that was done by the Complete Count Committee to drive our census efforts here in the city of New London. And I couldn't tell you how, I couldn't be more proud of this effort and of the work that was done. And when you talk about an effort that takes a village, this certainly was that type of effort. Our Complete Count Committee, the amount of people that participated in it is well over 60 people, and probably more if we've missed the contributions of some others. And I especially want to recognize the great work of our co-chairs, former New London Superintendent of Schools, Nicholas Fisher, who's joining us here tonight, and his wife, Karen. They really drove this effort, and they, from meetings every Tuesday for weeks and weeks and weeks, for months, they pushed this process. And I am confident that we did everything in our power in this city to count every person that we could. The one thing that I'm confident of, is walking away. By the way, that interruption was the CAO, who obviously forgot I'm on a city council meeting. I'm sure that we did everything in our power to do the best job we could, and that's thanks to Nick and Karen and his incredible team. So what we've done is we can't pass out the certificates tonight, how we normally would in times other than a pandemic, but we have prepared certificates of recognition for each member of this committee. It's a small token to recognize the work that they did. And I'd like to just read their names real quickly. I know that the council has a very long agenda tonight, but these people do deserve to be recognized. So first of all, Jen Muggio, the Assistant Director of Ledgelight Health District, Patrick Lynch, who's with Conn College, Jeannie Siegel, I think she's on today. Hi, Jeannie, from Guards Arts. These people did an incredible job. Denise Boyd, Greg Roth, Janelle Dulcis, Vanessa Alvarez, Brandon Gallagher, Inestral Charles, Shane Brooks, Yasmin Fabian, Gabriel Mercado, Kia Baird, James DJ Jackson, our very own Judy Cox, our very own Jeannie Milstein and Tommy Major and Tina Collins, Dave DeNoia, Christian Peterson, Jennifer Smith, Kerry Callahan, Esther Pendola from L&M Hospital, Angela Rasmussen from the school system, David Henson, Rochelle Meneses from my office, Josefina Alvarez, Valerie Tamano, Norman Harrison, Pauline Smith, Jennifer O'Brien, Julian Gills, Tom Bombria, Steve Fields, Richard Genovese, Ellen Gleckner, George Perez, Raquel Perkins, Felicia Stevens, Michael Roth from Chelsea Bank, June Holiday, Nicholas Capelson, Nancy Buckley, Nick Fortson, Brian Orstein, and I'm not sure how I'm going to prevent this certificate, but we had an anonymous donor who threw in $20,000 to this effort, which really helped us do a lot more. Finnegan Osta, Emily Curcia, Olga Vasilevas, excuse me for butchering that name, Haley Salati, Mario Zavelis, Joseph Paoli, Nathan Perez Espicia, Olga Evelyn, Dana Bennett, Eva Bennell, and last but not least, Karen and Nick Fisher. And Mr. President, with your permission, I'd just like to give Nick Fisher a couple of moments. Thank you, Nick, and you're on.
You have it.
I think you're muted.
Yep, he is.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Are we unmuted?
You're
Fine.
Okay. Karen and I are never going to go to another basketball game because that's where Michael tracked us down and asked us to be the honorary co-chairs of this process. So if we don't go to any more games, we can't be tracked down. But quite to the contrary, we were honored to be asked to do this. And as I'm going to say a little bit later, what's important about this is we never could have done what we did without the 60 or so people who helped us. One of the things we realized is that the value of people out in the community like Denise Boyd and all the others who knew people in their communities was invaluable. The next thing is, the next time I'm asked to be a volunteer, I'm asking the mayor for time and a half as a volunteer, because being an honorary chair, as you all know from your work for the city, takes a little bit more time than anybody thought it might. This was truly a triumph of the 60 people who were involved. And we also want to say that we give credit to Michael because he hid his cell phone through most of the meetings. But in any case, the bottom line is this: we were stunned at the fact that we had virtual meetings for more than 8 months, and 11 to 15 people showed up at every one of those meetings. Every one of the people involved with this was very committed to making this happen. I think special credit needs to go to Michael Raw at Chelsea Groton Bank, who was a terrific asset, along with the person who really runs the bank, June Holiday, in helping us raise money for this process. As well, Nicholas Kaplanson from Dime Bank, I believe it is, Nancy Bulkley from Millstone, Nick Fortenson, and Brian Orenstein from our credit unions in the area. You can't do this without funds, and we were able to raise significant dollars to make this work. But above and beyond, it was people who really believed in New London, really believed in the families in New London, really believed in the children of New London, and really believed that we can do a lot to make our city the best that it can be. Karen, do you want to add anything?
I just want to call out Jeannie Siegel and Patricia Todd from Blueprints, who donated goods, stickers and banners and so forth before we had any money at all. And all the young people who stepped up, and older people too, to reach out to the community. One of the things that Denise Boyd did, among others, was to meet up this summer with the buses that were delivering food to students out in the community, and reaching out to the parents who showed up at the food drop-off spots. That was very, very key. And you know, the whole group just really went with the flow and figured out what we could do given all the constraints that were in our face. So a huge thank you to all the people who worked so hard to make sure we counted as many people as possible in New London.
I think it's also important to point out that both Eva Bonnell and Dana Bennett were invaluable in helping us understand our role as a complete count committee, working with the efforts of the federal census process and department. We couldn't have done it without them. And this was really a matter of people working across boundaries and making it all work. And the other thing I think that needs to be said is that there are a lot of city employees listed here. You know, they didn't just show up. They more than showed up. They did everything that they could to make this a success. And a great example, I believe, was David Denoya's work with us on helping us to identify where the best places were to put up signs and to make everything happen. And finally, I have to embarrass him. Efrain Dominguez was a major participant here, not only participating in our thrilling TV programs, but also in helping us translate, because we knew that reaching people was a matter of making them feel comfortable. And Efrain, among many others, was wonderful in helping us reach many people across the community.
Okay, well, thank you, Nick, Karen, and thank you to the whole team. And thank you, President Dominguez, for giving us this time to recognize his effort.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you, Mr.
much.
President. Let's give him a round of applause, everyone, okay? A round of applause.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
appreciate, yep, it was an arduous task, but it was accomplished. And again, I'm very honored to be able to help. And I think this is what shows what we can do when we all work together. You know,
Absolutely.
That's the key. So again, Nick and Karen, thank you so much. And all 60 plus volunteers who worked alongside of you to make this possible. Again, so thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for those presentations. That was great. All right. With that said, then, guys, we're going to continue this evening, and we are going to go into what, according to the charter, happens our first meeting in December. Okay. And that is that we are going to, according to the charter, right, section 24 of the charter, the council shall elect a president and president pro temp annually on the first meeting in December. And tonight, that's what's going to happen at this time. So with that said, I am going to announce the council's first order of business, and it is the election of council president.
This is Counselor Dice, and I nominate Efrain Dominguez Jr. So before, I just like to share a little bit about Efrain. I had an opportunity to meet Efrain when he was free during the summer, and he worked for the Drop and Learning Center. So I had a chance to witness firsthand his love for children, whether he's creating lesson plans, going on field trips, but most of all, the safety of the children. So when we talk about translation for different languages, I had a chance to see him in his ministry. The first time he translated for Sharon Burns, it was amazing because for both of them, this was the first time that she was given the word, and he was the first time he translated in Spanish. And that right there was a very important experience. But also, every year, I'm not sure how many years, but Fulton Park, he had a basketball tournament that was for the youth in August. And then, knowing how he loved children, he ended up being a teacher. He worked in 2 different schools that I know personally, which was a dual language, and now it's called another school called Magnet Secondary School. Used to be Benny Dover, or still Benny Dover Jackson Middle School. But one of the things that I appreciate, because his field was in government, he made sure that those kids had an opportunity to go to the great debate that was sponsored by the NAACP. And then a lot of times when it was supposed to be over, he would say, no, we got to see it. This is important. They're watching college students debate on issues that concern the kids. But also, what is awesome that as a leader in our community, he ran and earned the seat of city council. This will be his 8th year. That's 4 terms. In 2019, he was the first Latino president for the city council of New London, and he won't be the last. But just think, they had a chance to see that. See, what helped our children and youth is having positive images where many youth can see themselves. And imagine this. We saw him as a teacher, a minister, community volunteer, organizer, and working in city government. This is why I nominate Efrain Dominguez Jr.
Thank you, Councilor Dice. This is President Pro Tem. I'm going to make a comment and then second that nomination. President Dominguez, you've shown great leadership the last year. I've been very proud to serve next to you. You've made great, very fair decisions on behalf of the New London residents, and I'm very, very proud that Councilor Dice has nominated you. I'm going to second that nomination.
Thank you. At this time, are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Councilor Sadi.
Councilor Dominguez, I would like to make a motion that nominations be closed.
This is Councilor Goodwin. Councilor Dominguez, I'd like to second the motion to close the nominations.
Okay. I'll call those in favor of closing the nominations to say yay. At this time, all those in favor to closing the nomination say yes.
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 Yay.
Yay. And those opposed say nay. Okay. I declare the nominations are closed. At this time, I am going to call for the nomination of Efrain Dominguez Jr. for council president. Okay. So all those in favor, say aye.
Yay.
Aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. Okay. So at this moment, I declare myself duly elected president of the council. Thank you, guys. At this time, I'm going to call City Clerk Ayala to administer the oath of office to myself as the newly elected council of the president of the council. You muted. Yep.
I said I turned my camera on so I could see you.
All right.
All right, please raise your right hand. Having been chosen as the president for the city council for the city of New London, do you swear that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the office according to your best skill and judgment, so help you God?
I do, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. At this time, I'm going to request a nomination for the office of Council President Pro Tem.
This is Councilor Booker.
No, hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's Councilor Burke. Go ahead. It's okay.
No.
Thank you very much, President Dominguez. This is Councilor Burke. It is my honor to nominate President Pro Temp, Councilor Alma Nartades, to continue on as President Pro Temp in the upcoming year. I'll make this brief, but ever since I met Alma at a Democratic Town Committee meeting where we were voting on her nomination back in 2017, she made sure to come up and shake every hand in that room and let them know that she had an open door. She had done a great job serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and made sure and served that term as the only woman on the City Council, which it should never happen again. But I know that women and certain voices were better represented because Alma was there, and she's been great to serve with alongside since I was elected. Being a new counselor, she definitely helped provide some tools and tips, help us get up to speed. She always has empathy, care, and compassion, but at the same time, she's straightforward and tells it like it is, and isn't afraid to, let her put her feelings out there when she thinks that her opinion is going to benefit this city, the City Council, and all the people in New London. So it is my honor to nominate President Pro Temp Alma Nartades.
And this is Councilor Booker, and I am honored to second that nomination.
Okay. At this time, is there any other nominations? Okay. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? At this time, I'm going to call on Councilor Dice.
This is Councilor Dice. I move that the nomination be closed.
I will call on Councilor Sadi at this time.
This is Councilor Sadi. I'd like to second the motion to close nominations.
Okay, at this moment, I'm going to call for the vote on closing nominations to say yay. And those that are opposed say nay. So all those in favor to close the nomination say yay.
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 At this time, I declare that the nominations are closed. At this moment, I am going to call for the vote on the nomination of Alma D. Nartades as President Pro Tempore. Okay. All those in favor say yay.
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 All those opposed say nay. Okay. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to call, I declare Alma D. Nartades duly elected Council President Pro Tempore.
Thank you.
At this moment, I'm going to call City Clerk Ayala forward to administer the oath to Council President Pro Tem Alma D. Nartades.
Okay. Councilor Nartades, please raise your right hand. Having been chosen and selected as President Pro Temp for the City Council for the City of New London, do you swear that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the office according to your best skill and judgment, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, this is President Dominguez. At this time, I am going to be brief, but I do have some brief remarks that I wanted to share with you all. And I did write it, but it'll be brief. It's joyous just to be back again. You know what I mean? As president of the council, I'll tell you from the beginning, I never really expected this when I began many years ago. But you know what? Time tells everything, and eventually, things happen in life. So first of all, I would like to thank Councilor Dice for nominating me and for the words that she shared. Made me laugh and also made me reminisce of so many things that I really enjoyed, working with children, and not only that, but doing all the things that I did before I became a city official. So thank you for that. I also want to thank each of the councilors that are here tonight for their words, for their support, and above all, for their vote of confidence. That truly means a lot to me. I would also like to thank our administrative assistant, Jenny Starts, for all the help she has given me this year, because without that, all of us, including me, we wouldn't be able to do that. So let's go, Jenny. We give you a shout out this evening, as always. I have often said this, that this council is unique from all the rest of the councils that I've served in. Okay, each of you have your own specific set of skills you bring to this legislative body that without them, we would not have been able to accomplish everything we have up to this point. Okay. Now, as we look to another year, let us remember why we are here. Okay. Our task or our purpose is to make sure the city of New London and its residents enjoy a good quality of life in all areas. And we know what quality of education, health, everything that has to do, right? So how are we able to accomplish this? By the decisions we make at a council, which affects everyone. That's how we're going to do it. Some decisions we made this year were quite difficult, but we as a council stood our ground and were able to make the right decisions. We caucused, we met, we discussed things. And one of the things that for me is a highlight, that we were able to really not only do our own investigations, but also come together, okay? And even though we agree to disagree, we came out strong together and sent a message to the city that together we're standing to do what's right for the city. So as we look now to the future, one more year before if we all decide to run again next year, as we look to the future, there's going to be many major decisions that we're going to have to make. But I'm going to tell you that if we continue to work the way that we have been working together in unity, there's nothing that we as a council will be able to achieve for this city. Protect that city. So they needed a wall. And during the ancient times, walls were used to protect enemies from coming in. And when the people of that city began to build the walls up, people within that city began to be negative and began to try to discourage the leaders of that city to say, that can't be done, that's impossible, you're not going to be able to do it. And what happened was that the people that were building the walls decided not to hear those voices, but continue to stay focused on the task or the purpose that they had been called to. And eventually, even though many within and arose to try to deviate them from their purpose, they were not able to do it because they stuck together, all right? One was working and another one was like on the tower watching out for anything that was coming against them. And they will huddle up again, come together, have some discussions, and be able to continue. And they did that for day and night, until finally that wall was built around the city and they were victorious. And I say this to tell you this, there's many projects that are coming. There's many things that are going to be happening, like the schools finishing building that school, okay? The National Coast Guard Museum, all right? Many other projects that are being done in the city, that there's many people, and I'll say this with no fear, there's many people that do not agree with this in this city. But if we know that this is gonna benefit our people, because one thing, in order to have good quality of life, councilors, we're gonna need money. We're gonna need money to bring into the city. And the way that we're gonna do that is we need to build and continue to build. And of course, yes, we're gonna have equity. We're gonna make sure that we are holding the administration accountable on all the areas that they have stated that they're gonna do, like the resolution about equity for all. We're gonna do that. But if we continue to focus on what we're doing, and we don't allow the naysayers who have lived among us for many, many years to stop us for doing what we're going to be doing, we are going to be successful. We're going to see that New London is going to become the most prosperous city. I'm telling you right now, the most prosperous city in the state of Connecticut. And we're able to do it. But again, we must make sure that we stay focused on what we're supposed to do and who we're doing it for. We're doing it for the city, and we're doing it for the people of the city and for future generations. And when we hear anybody else talking negative, we need to come together, huddle together, talk about it, investigate it, but make sure that we stay the path to see this great city become what it's meant to be. So with that said, I want to thank each of you again from my heart. I want to thank the administration for collaborating not only with the council, but with myself as the president of the council, for always, Mayor Pastor, for always picking up that phone when I call you, for always texting me and returning my text, and every other department head in the city that has been collaborating, not only with myself, but with everyone else that is here, that is a leader over the city. And I'm talking mainly to you, city councilors. So at this time, what I'm going to do is I am going to read through the list of committees and liaison assignments. Now, they haven't changed, but I'm just going to read, okay? I'm going to read it because we've decided to make sure that we stay focused on what we began so that we can finish it. So at this time, I will continue as the chair of the Finance Committee. Also, I will, President Pro Tem Almadina Tatis will continue as the chair of administration. Councilor Kevin L. Booker Jr. will continue as the chair of public safety. Councilor James Burke will continue as the chair of public works. And Councilor Rihanna Dice will continue as the chair of public welfare. Councilor Curtis K. Goodwin will continue to chair economic development. And of course, last but not least, Councilor John D. Sadi will continue to chair education, parks, and recreation. Okay. All right. So with that said, I just Godspeed to all of us, and we shall continue to do the work that is to be done in the city. Okay. All right. So at this time, there is no public hearings. 4.0 minutes of previous meeting. Can I have a motion on that?
This is Councilor Dice. I make a motion to accept the minutes, the regular meeting on November the 16th, 2020.
Thank you. This is President Dominguez. Can I have a second? Councilor John Sadi seconds it. Okay.
This is Councilor Sadi. I'd like to second that motion.
Okay. Are there any discussion on this? Okay. Seeing none, we shall vote. Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Okay. So the motion carries. At this time.
Pardon me, President
Yes,
Dominguez.
I'm sorry.
This is
Yes.
Councilor Burke. Just a quick point of order. I believe we skipped over the part in our program where the newly elected president pro temp makes a few remarks.
Oh my goodness, yes. I am so, thank you. My apologies. I got so caught up into it. I thought I was talking too much. All right. So at this time, we'll have the Honorable President Pro Tem Art Medina Tatis.
Well, thank you, Councilor Burke, because honestly, I forgot too. I forgot about that as well. Yeah, so I can just say very briefly that it's an honor to not only be elected a first term, but this second term is just something special, right? As President Dominguez mentioned, we all bring something to the table. We're all very different, mixed ideas, but at the end of the day, we all come together. The number one goal for this council is really the people of New London. It's not about ourselves. It's not about the glamour or our name in the paper. It really is the decisions that we make about the residents, the people that live in the city of New London. And so I'm very proud of that, and I'm very proud to sit on this council. And thank you for your vote and believing that we are leading the city in the right direction and in my leadership skills. So thank you. Thank you, President Dominguez.
This is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, President Pro Tem Medina Tatis. And again, Councilor Burke, and I also saw a text from Councilor Goodwin. Thank you for, I guess I was just in the hole. But that's what we are. We compliment each other. We help each other out. So I appreciate you guys for all that. All right. So at this time, we are going to go to public comment. Please remember that at public comment, you will have 3 minutes to speak. Make sure that you state your name and address. So I do have the pleasure we only have one speaker, I think. That's what I believe. If I'm wrong, Jenny, you let me know. So for now, I'm going to ask for Karen Paul. You have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good evening, Karen.
Great. Karen Paul, 281 State Street. First of all, I would like to make sure that you're all aware that tomorrow morning from 10 to 12 at the Senior Center is a flu shot, a drive up with ease, roll up your sleeve, drive through to beat the flu. There's a flu shot clinic tomorrow morning, 10 to 12 at the Senior Center. It's open to the public, 19 years and older. They're not going to have the high dose vaccine for seniors, but they will have the regular vaccine, and anyone can drive through tomorrow morning. So I'm not sure whether you all know that or not, but there's other people that might not know it, and so I share it with you tonight. Secondly, 2 years ago, December 3rd, 2018, the City Council approved applications to boards and committees and the handling. The New London City Council hereby commits to a fair and equitable process in accepting, reviewing, and appointing individuals to city boards, commissions, and agencies, collectively referred to as boards, as being in the best interest of the City of New London. The following procedural steps will be used to review applications to all boards. The goal of this council, this is 2 years ago, is to encourage all residents to volunteer in an effort to maintain a diverse representation of the community on all committees and boards. To this end, the following procedures have been adopted to promote fair and equal opportunities for all the residents of New London. As you know, I've stated before, the administration chair is supposed to read all the vacancies, if there are any, at every city council meeting. The vacancies will be posted on the city website. I'm not going to read this in entirety because there's 10 items that I don't read that fast. The council administration will contact each applicant via U.S. mail or email with a letter acknowledging receipt of their application. The applicants will be provided a status update on their application within 45 calendar days, barring any special circumstances, and as long as there are vacancies. Once the application has been referred to the administration committee, the committee chair and/or committee members should solicit comments or opinions from other counselors. Every effort will be made by council to fill all vacancies within the boards in a timely manner. And a timely manner is mentioned several times in this document. Efforts will be made to create a well-balanced boards during the application review process, taking into consideration minority representations, which shall include
1 minute.
party affiliation, race and ethnicity, and gender. The City Council committee chairs, in conjunction with the administration chair, will be responsible to mandate the vacancies and the term expiration dates with their assigned committee and boards. This was adopted by the City Council December 3rd, 2018. I know that there's been several applications for a few of the boards and agencies that do have vacancies. I have not heard a thing. Yes, they have received the letter that their application was received, but it hasn't been acted on. And I'm curious as to why, when there's vacancies, and there's vacancies. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. This is President Dominguez speaking. All right, there is no other public comment at this time. Let's go over to petitions. There are no petitions. And now we have C, response to public comment. Is there any response to public comment? Yes, President Pro Tem Nartatis, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, President Dominguez. So a couple of things. It sounds to me like Ms. Paul is insinuating that this council is not doing its job, and that's just not true. I could not have pointed out the purpose of the process for the administration committee. I mean, she read verbatim line: fair, equitable, a committee that is diversified. At the end of the day, it is the chair and the committee and the counselors that choose individuals that best represent the city of New London. That means people that are out there in the community that we feel would be the best representation. It does not mean that everybody that puts in an application automatically gets on a committee. That's not what that means. So I want to just be very, very clear. We are looking for people that are qualified depending on the committee. The committee chair has a very strong voice in whether or not that person makes it to that committee. And we also want it well balanced. The statement by Ms. Paul that the chair is supposed to announce all the vacancies, that's just not true. President Dominguez, you had mentioned at the first of the month that we would review those, but please do, I don't want false information being spread to the general public. That we are working as a team the best that we can to make sure that the city of New London is well represented. And I want to make that perfectly clear. Thank you, President Dominguez.
Okay, this is President Dominguez. Thank you, President Pro Tem Nartatis. Any other counselor that wishes to respond to? Okay. All right, with that said, I want to thank everyone this evening, especially Karen Paul, who has come to address the council. And I'll have to also just briefly say we do meet when it comes to selecting the process, just like, and I don't want to sound redundant, just like what President Pro Tem Nartatis said, and we are making it fair and equitable for everyone. And I believe that process is what we're following. When we meet and we have those caucuses and we talk about each of the applicants. And we always try to come up with the best, all right, that is qualified for that position. And we don't have a lot sometimes, we need more people to make sure that they apply. So I believe that we're doing the process. And just to also, Jenny does send emails to every single applicant that applies.
I didn't say she didn't.
Okay, so that's my thing. Okay, so with that said, we're gonna move on. All right, and we just want to thank everyone. Okay, so the next thing is reports and communications. Director of Law, do we have any questions? Any of the councilors have any pertinent questions for Attorney Londrigan? Go ahead, Councilor Burke.
Thank you, President Dominguez. Attorney Londrigan, on the general side, number 3, Eugene O'Neill sign, can you just let us know if there's any further updates or progress with the Federal Highway Administration?
Yes, this is Attorney Jeffrey Londrigan speaking. The administration and myself had a meeting with the Federal Highway Administration, and we got some good feedback from them. There is a process, an application process that we can make to the Federal Highway Administration for the sign to remain in its current location and to continue advertising the way that it has been doing. And so we're going to avail ourselves of that process. It's a several-month process from what we can gather, but we are going to make the applications in a timely manner and hopefully wrap that up and put that to bed.
Thank you very much. This is Councilor Burke. Quick follow-up. So we were just in discussing a related matter. Myself and the other councilors, we couldn't quite remember. So that currently we're not running any commercial advertising while this dispute with the Federal Highway Administration is ongoing. But our question was, at any time did the city run commercial advertising and get revenue before the dispute with the Federal Highway Administration had started?
This is Attorney Jeffrey Londrigan. Yes, we did. It was running for almost the better part of a year. Where we were receiving, as you recall, the lease agreement provided for sort of a revenue share. And so that was in place until such time as an issue with commercial advertising on the sign was raised.
Thank you. This is Councilor Burke. My remaining questions on the topic will be better suited for the Finance Director, so I'll address them at another time. Thank you very much.
All right, this is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Councilor Burke. Are there any other councilors that wish to address Attorney Londrigan with a question? Yes, Councilor Sadi, go ahead, sir.
Yes, this is Councilor Sadi. Attorney Londrigan, on the general side, number 4, number 0066, Regional Dispatch, regarding the MOU. Could you please update on what discussions or emails there were?
Yeah, we were just putting some, Attorney Jeffrey Londrigan speaking. We're just putting some final details into extending the current memorandum of understanding between the city and Waterford, which the prior one expired July 1st of this year. And we're just extending it. It's basically still both sides stating that we are moving towards regional dispatch for that project. That MOU was necessary for our consultants, or I should say our vendor, Central Square, to continue with integrating our system into Waterford's system. And I'm happy to report that the MOU has been finalized since putting this memorandum together. The mayor, it's on his desk for signature, and I hope to have it sent over to Waterford for the first selectman to sign sometime tomorrow.
Thank you very much. This is Councilor John Sadi. Also on the general side, number 7, number 3608, Waterfront. Emails read Dock Masters Agreement and Events Coordinators Agreement. updated agreements and drafted CAM language. Could you explain what that is?
Sure, those, Jeffrey Londrigan speaking. Those are the two items that are on your agenda this evening. It was time for the events coordinator agreement and the dock master agreement to be renewed. They run on a calendar year, not a fiscal year. And so the administration and some counselors had reached out about updating those and making sure that they were on your agenda prior to January 1st.
Thank you very much. Do either of those contracts talk about any type of pay increase?
Jeffrey Londrigan speaking. They do not. They are consistent with what the amount to be paid, the consideration was last year.
And do you know whether or not there was any pay increase given last year?
Jeffrey Londrigan speaking. I do not know. I know within the last year or so, there was an increase, but I don't remember if that kicked in for the first time last year or the year before.
Thank you very much. This is Councilor John Sadi. I have no further questions at this point in time.
President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Councilor Sadi. Is there any other councilor that wishes to address Attorney Londrigan with a question? Okay, seeing none. All right, we'll move on. Thank you, Attorney Londrigan.
Thank you.
At this time, we are. I'm going to call on Councilor Dice, who has to share on the committee and reports this evening.
This is Councilor Dice speaking. And as we think about how things get started here in New London, usually it comes from just concerned people, sometimes employees. So Rain Doherty, she was in her driveway listening to NPR, and the Port Laureate had this beautiful poem from Philly, and she was really touched by it. So she picked up the phone and she called our mayor and suggested, you know, we have all these talented people here in New London. You know, wouldn't it be awesome to have someone to express what's going on through poetry? So I'm going to share with you about the Port Laureate program, but that's just a little note how it got started. The honorary position of the City of New London Port Laureate was established in 2016 by a resolution of the City Council. Rhonda Ward is the city first and current Port Laureate. The Port Laureates write and share their works in public appearance, digital media, workshops, and inspire the community to find and share their own creative voice. The Public Library of New London is a partner in this initiative. The Mayor of New London, the Honorable Mayor Passero, will appoint the new Port Laureate based on the recommendation of the Port Laureate Selection Committee on April the 5th, 2021. The selection committee members are Rhonda Ward, the current Port Laureate, Michael Bradford, Chloe Murphy, Clayton Powder, and Tracy Reiser. The appointed Port Laureate will serve a 3-year term until April 2024. Now, some of the requirements. The New London resident 18 years and older are invited to apply for this position, which come with a $300 annual stipend. A program overview with expectation and criteria, along with the application form and the application process detailed will be available on the city website. It looked like it won't be available until tomorrow, but at the Public Library of New London and through certain social media, we will have the application available. The application period is open through February the 5th, 2021. All application will be submitted to to Dodd City Planner in the Office of Economic Development and Planning. The City of New London is an art and cultural center for the region with a long history of fostering creative expressions. Poetry helps people to connect to each other and build community, while enable understanding and empathy for a different point of view. We are excited to continue this tradition with the process to select the next poet laureate for the city of New London. So I have to give credit to Tracy for giving me the points, and just thank you about this. And I want to share one thing, because I had the opportunity to be a part of the committee as they were deciding what's the next step. What was impressive that we have every age from 20 to 60 represented. We had different nationality, a variety of people in the community. And what I was so proud of is their investment in the youth. They want to make sure that the poet laureate that we wanted to make sure that it's open to everyone, 18 and above, but also looking at how this would connect with the schools, with the library, with the youth in the community that's already doing a little bit of expression of words. We also had a couple of special guests, Miss Austin, Juanita Austin visit, and then the day newspaper, Greg Smith was there. And it was one more person that I can't think who it is right now, but I just want to say I was really honored to be able to be a part of that committee. So I just want to encourage that you spread the word to make sure that everyone knows that this application is available, and we hope to be able to have some great people that sign up to be able to put it in words, be able to share through poetry. And one thing that Ms. Ward, our current poet laureate, that she wanted to make sure that is being offered, that the poems that she wrote during that 3-year time frame should be given to, she suggested it should be given to the city, where we can have it on display, archive it, show it off, because we need to make sure that we keep ourselves alive and remember what people have done for us in the past. Thank you. This is Councilor Dice.
Thank you, Councilor Dice. This is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you for those words and for sharing the whole summary and even the background history, even for some of us that weren't here during that time. Now we know, so this is great. Okay, we also had a Finance Committee meeting this evening where we had the Executive Director from New London Main Street give us an account of her budget this evening. So with that said, is there any other counselor? Nope. Okay. We will
yes, President.
Yes, Councilor
Sorry,
Burke.
President Dominguez.
Go ahead, sir.
This is Councilor Burke. Early this evening, the Public Works Committee met at 6 p.m. To discuss with Public Works Director Brian Sear possible changes to specifically the fees for brush collection at the New London Transfer Station, which devolved into a conversation about a multitude of those fees and how to make them equitable and also improve some of the operations regarding fee collection at the New London Transfer Station, as well as some environmental issues some neighbors of this transfer station were having. So, it's a great discussion. Thank you very much.
President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Councilor Burke, for that report. And at this time, I am going to ask Mayor Passero to bring forth the Mayor's Office of Communications.
Thank you, President Dominguez, members of council, and congratulations on your reelection as president, and to President Pro Tem Notardas, congratulations. It's been a real pleasure to work with the two of you and with the members of this council. We've accomplished a lot in the last year, a tremendous amount in the last year. And and some of these decisions that you made and debated were difficult, as President Dominguez, you alluded to in your comments. And they're tough decisions, a lot of them, but they are decisions that are helping to move our city forward and become successful. And some of those included, just quickly, the Martin Center I know what a difficult decision that was, but we are also, with your support, moving forward to finally get a community recreation center built, top-notch quality recreation center that the residents of this city deserve and have deserved for a long time, and something that's sustainable. It was your support that also made the housing project on Howard Street able to move forward, which will give us another 200 units of residential housing in our downtown district. That's on top of the 137 units at Parcel J that will be leasing up in the spring. And then, as you might have heard, and I'm very proud of this 400 Bank Street development project was approved to planning and zoning, and that will provide hundreds more units of housing right in our downtown district. This will transform the city and will give us that element of our economy that we've been missing that will support our small businesses. And that project, we have to get that built, of course. We do have a site plan approved, and that's a big step, but we have to get that built, and it's going to take support from all of you to get that done in the near future. So I have a lot of notes, but in the interest of time, and I know you have a long schedule tonight, I'm just going to abbreviate this tonight, and I'm sure you can't, but there's a public service announcement I've been asked to make. So I want to announce on behalf of Debbie Phillips, who's organizing this, they've organized a Mystery Elf program. And essentially what they're going to be doing is they're going to be decorating houses for homeward bound seniors, for cancer survivors, for veterans, for recovery houses, transitional houses, the homeless shelter, emergency shelters. And they're going to decorate homes and residents of people that normally wouldn't have the resources to do Christmas decorations. And they'll be soliciting donations of those decorations and help through Shiloh Baptist Church. And they're going to kick off the whole program tomorrow at 2 p.m. at the Veterans Homeless House at 51 to 53 Mountain Avenue. So, of course, you're all invited to attend that kickoff. I also want to give a shout out to Chef Tom and his Whalers Helping Whalers program. They're looking for help distributing gifts on the 19th. That's this coming, that's 2 weeks from, a week from this Saturday. So Saturday the 19th. And also he continues with his cadre of volunteers, he continues to make hundreds of meals and distributes hundreds of meals every weekend. So Chef Tom and your volunteers, thank you for those amazing community efforts. The pandemic is, as you know, we're all painfully aware, and I know we're tired, but it continues to just bring misery upon our people, upon this country and the state. We now have over 5,000 people who have been killed who have died of COVID-related illness since the beginning. And shockingly, there are over 3,000 deaths a day in this country. It's absolutely staggering. We've blown through the 300,000 mark. We're marching towards 500,000 shockingly fast. And so we once again have to, just have to emphasize that we can control this with continued diligence, with fast mask wearing, social distancing. So despite the fatigue that we're all suffering under with this, I just can't emphasize enough that we have to continue to keep our guard up. And I can tell you that we've gone back to the strictest protocols with our employees to try to keep them safe, keep their families safe, and keep the public safe. The staff is just working incredibly hard to keep the business of the city going. They're doing a great job with that. So I want to thank everybody for their continued efforts on all of that. Also, on a lighter note, we have with the help of Barbara Neff and Neff Productions, and many other efforts, the City Center District. You know, we are having a Christmas season this year. We have the multicultural holiday celebration event that's taking place. And also, we're trying to support our small businesses. So, you know, we have Shop Local, Shop Late on Thursday nights, and we want to try to get everybody out for that this next Thursday, the 10th. And then I'll let, you're going to have Barbara Neff speaking with you later. I'll let her promote the rest of the events for this holiday season and beyond. The pop-up shops and the pop-up vending things at the plaza. We're hoping for much better weather this coming weekend than we had last weekend. We had to put all of that off. I think with that, I'm going to. I'm sure I'm forgetting things, but I promise you I'd keep it short tonight. So I will, unless you have questions for me. I'd be happy to entertain them.
President Dominguez speaking. Any questions for the mayor?
Got one.
Okay, Councilor Booker, go ahead, sir.
Greg Smith wrote an article titled "Major Development Approved for New London" that appeared in A Day on Saturday, December 5th, regarding the apartment building project between Bank Street and Shaw's Landing. Can you just elaborate a little bit on how this will be beneficial for our great city?
Yes, thank you. That's the third project that I referred to in my remarks earlier. This project has been stalled out for the better part of almost 15 years now, since we had a development agreement with Oak Tree developers for that parcel in the heart of our downtown. The one, it was supposed to be a 3-phase development. One building was built, and in 2008, with the Great Recession, the project stalled. I aggressively went after Oak Tree as soon as I was elected to my first term. And since then, we have been actively engaged, and it's taken 5 years to get to this point of having a site plan approved. The original site plans are good for 10 years. The original site plan had long since expired. This development will help us to attract all the young talent that is moving into this area to support the jobs at principally Electric Boat, but also the rest of this economy in Southeastern Connecticut is thriving, and it's thriving really on the back of those $3 billion worth of contracts so far for submarines at Electric Boat. So you're looking at a 20-year, minimum 20-year pipeline of jobs. Great jobs, high-tech jobs, designers and engineering jobs. We don't want to lose those employees to other communities because we lack the housing that they desire to have right here in New London, in this small progressive city that we have, which will attract young people. The other cohort that we want to attract is the empty nesters, the people that are moving in from the suburbs, who's selling their homes and their lawns and their cars, and they just want to settle in for their golden years in a more carefree lifestyle in a really nice apartments. And all of that traffic and all of that, those people, well, not, people traffic downtown, all of those new residents will really surcharge our local economy and support the small businesses that we have, not only in our downtown district where these apartments are principally located, but in the city as a whole. So this was a principal motivation for me in seeking this office to get these development projects restarted. And I'm very proud that as we hit the 5-year mark, one will be finished and leasing up in the spring. A second will be under construction by the spring. It's already broken ground. And this third one now has a site plan approved, and we hope to get that project through the rest of the approval process and underway just as soon as we possibly can. So I think these are important steps for our local economy.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pasquarello. This is Council Booker. Thank you. No further comment.
This is President Dominguez speaking. I will be remiss if I wouldn't say, Mayor Pasquarello, thank you for your leadership, especially during these difficult moments under this pandemic. So I just want to say thank you to you and your administration, and you know what, we stay focused, and eventually all these projects will be finished and done.
You're welcome. I think we're blessed to have a very amazing team working for us here.
You do. So thank you. All right, so at this time, I am going to be calling on President Pro Tem Nartatis for the consent agenda.
Thank you, President Dominguez. Consent agenda, that the consent agenda proposals set forth at the regular meeting of December 7th, 2020 are either one, accepted for the record, two, referred to the committee named, three, waived from committee to be acted upon as proposed, or four, consented to as proposed. Can I get a second?
Second,
Councilor Goodwin, second that.
Yeah, that was
Second.
All right. Okay, so with that said, I know sometimes we forget to unmute ourselves. That happens to me, guys. All right, so thank you. So with that said, I'm going to start reading off the list. Make sure that if you call, all right, make sure you call out which one you want me to pull. The other thing is, just a reminder again, make sure that, again, when you're speaking, when you begin, you state your name, and even if you're answering a question or if you're asking a question, all right? I'll continue, right? All right, so at this time, I'll go 7.0 unfinished business, 7.1A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. All right, 7.2, 7.3, 8.0 new business, 8.1.
This is Councilor Sadi, 8.1 pull.
8.1?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. 8.1, Sadi, thank you. All right, 8.2.
Pull.
Councilor
Goodwin.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Councilor Goodwin, 8.2. 8.3.
Pull. Councilor Goodwin.
Thank you. 8.4. 8.5. 8.6.
Pull, Councilor Burke.
Okay, 8.6, Councilor Burke. Okay. 8.7, 8.8, 8.9, 8.10, 9.0, appointments, none, and then executive session, 10.0, nothing.
Point of order.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, so just in the interest of time, you can, I don't know if it's procedural, if we can do it or not, but I did not mean to pull 8.3.
Yeah, we could pull it out. We could, so no call on 8 point, all right, so school readiness grant, I'll take it out.
Correct.
Thank you, Councilor. Good one.
And instead 8.5.
Okay, so 8.5, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's fine, as long as we haven't, gone through the whole vote, you'll be fine. All right, so at this time, I'm gonna call on President Pro Tem Nartatis. You're muted. Yeah.
Okay, all items having the unanimous support of the City Council are hereby adopted with a single roll call vote. The motions are seconded, the chair calls the roll, and the chair declares the motions to be unanimously voted and adopted.
Okay, President Dominguez speaking. City Clerk Ayala, go ahead, sir. Roll call.
Yep. Council Booker Jr.,
Yes.
Council Dice,
Yes.
Council Sarai,
Yes.
Council Goodwin,
Yes.
President Pro Temp Natartes,
Yes.
Council Burke,
Yes.
and President Dominguez.
Yes.
7 yes.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, councilors, remember to move to CAM before you begin, okay? So we have Councilor Sadi, 8.1.
Move to CAM.
This is Councilor Burke, second.
Thank you.
The city council hereby approves a contract with Barbara J. Neff Productions LLC to provide services to city dock master for the calendar year 2021 and further authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. Through you, council president, to Barbara Neff. I believe Barbara Neff is on the call.
Yep, she's here.
Mrs. Neff, are you available to answer some questions?
Yes.
Okay, so I turn your attention to the agreement, which is on page 2, number 5, payment. And it says here, the city agrees to pay the consultant for the work performed by the consultant at the rate of $7,000 per year in 2 installments. Is that your understanding of this agreement?
Yes.
And what was your pay rate last year?
The same.
And has the fees increased from last year to this year?
The docking fees?
Correct. The revenue, yes, the total revenue.
The revenue now all goes through the city of New London. It goes through DACWA, which is an app, and it goes all right through to the finance office. So I don't have what the figures are for the total year compared to last year.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you. This is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Councilor Sadi. At this moment, are there any other questions? Any other questions directed to Barbara Neff? Councilor Goodwin, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, through you, Council President, to Ms. Neff. If you give us a quick overview of the services you provide at as a dock master and the partnerships that you have that are, within your role as dock master.
So as the dock master, I take care of any visiting boats. So whether they're personal boats or if they're Coast Guard boats, if they need trash pickup, if they need oil delivery, I help coordinate those things. As you know, the Mayflower was here this year, so I had to coordinate and help coordinate lunches, especially with COVID, getting buses down there, fencing down there, having them there, working with their PR to make sure that that their information got out to the media. I also work with all personal boats, anyone who calls who wants to dock their personal boats, how long they can dock for, how do they pay, if they have electricity, if they need water, how do they get their crew there, how do they, what is the train station, what's the train schedule, what is the bridge schedule, places that they can go eat, places that they can shop or get provisions from. I also work with the Port Authority, the New London Port Authority, about their maintenance and when things break down, like we had a whole pier that broke down this year that had no electricity, and we had boaters down there working with Public Works to coordinate that. Working with the Coast Guard, I got the cadets to paint the waterfront this year and volunteer. Working with, let's see, so that's Coast Guard boats, visiting tall ships. I also work with mega yachts that come in depending on what they need, which could be, once again, could be anything. I had 3 weddings this year, so I had to coordinate 3 weddings on the waterfront this year. What else do we have that goes on down there? Periodically, I work with Frank Murata, who has the restaurant down there, and some of the things that his workers need. The New York Fire Boat was there, so I was taking calls from him quite often. We had a couple people board his boat at night, calling the police, taking care of that.
And I think that suffices. I think that's good. You brought up Frank Murata and the restaurant there. Could you elaborate on that restaurant or what's happening down there with that?
So Frank Murata right now is working with city staff, and they are installing, it looks like, electrical and a pad in the dirt lot for maybe a storage area that they're putting down there. They've had to go underneath. They have a storage container on the waterfront. They have to go underneath the pier to run utilities that they need. So they're down there working every day.
Got it. My final question would be with relation to other entities or individuals wanting to utilize and or access or rent the space. Does that go through you under your role as dockmaster? And or
So-
how do you, go ahead.
I'll let you finish. I'm sorry.
No worries. Go right ahead.
So if somebody wants to rent the waterfront, like those 3 weddings, then what happens is they call my office. I tell them what the policies and procedures are. And then like with the weddings, because it was under 10 people, I got the fee waived by the New London Port Authority to waive the 3 fees because it was only 10 people. One was a few, it was maybe about 15 people, but because it was COVID, there wasn't things going on. There were masks worn, they were social distance. The Port Authority waived the fees for those weddings, but yes, I have to coordinate with them, with their deliveries, with their sound people, with their personnel that come
Got
down
it.
to make their weddings happen. But I give them suggestions depending on
do
what
you-
their needs are.
Got it. And do you ultimately decide, no matter what the opportunity is on the waterfront, do you ultimately decide in your role as dockmaster who gets to use the waterfront or not?
No, nope, no. Everything goes through the Port Authority.
Got it. No further questions.
Okay, this is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Councilor Goodwin. I do have a question, piggyback on something that Councilor Goodwin, with the weddings, just going back to that, with the weddings. So what would be a regular fee if we didn't have COVID or we weren't under this pandemic? What would be the fee? Does it depend on the amount of people that will attend, or how does that work? I mean,
So it depends on how much dock space they take. So if they
I
take
see.
one dock, typically they use one dock, so it's $100 to use that dock. Typically, it's only an hour or an hour and a half that they use it. They need to set up, sometimes people, not this year, but sometimes people will set up a little altar with flowers or something. They'll set up some chairs and some music. That's usually what they do. We usually don't have receptions down there for weddings. It's usually just the ceremony that I've had to help coordinate.
Very interesting. The reason, again, President Dominguez speaking, the reason I'm asking this is because I guess, I never thought about having weddings, by the pier, so maybe this is something we should promote even more so people can, I think it's interesting. Now, is there a form, Barbara, written out that says like, if you use one dock, it's 100, is there something laid out? Okay. So
Yes.
thank you. You know what?
The
Thank you
New
so
London
much,
Port
Chris.
Authority has a fee schedule on what fees are, and they vote on it every year, and that's the schedule I go by.
And my last question, in a regular year without, if it wasn't on the pandemic, what's the average of weddings that you have there? Like maybe what, a couple?
We have a couple a year. We
Okay.
have a couple every year. I know Zach Levy got married down on
I
the pier one
remember.
year.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. Any other counselors at this time that wish to, okay, Councilor Dice.
Okay, this is Councilor Dice speaking. So I remember last year when you came before us, and I'm excited to know you was in the middle of transitioning, having everything done online when people needed a doc. So, and I was just curious, the update, how did that go this year? I know that we didn't have that much traffic, but I'm just curious, are you satisfied with it? The online, letting people reserving their spots online.
More or less. They still have to call the office They still want to know what dock they have. They still need, even though, so they receive an email once they sign up, they receive an email. And when they leave, they receive an email. And on there is codes, like how to get through the gates, the codes for the bathrooms and the showers. Unfortunately, as you all probably know, people don't read. So they get the email, they look through the beginning of it, and then they call the office and have to get the codes and things like that. Sometimes they need someone to take lines. I know the mayor has been down there to take lines. I've been down there to take lines. Our harbor master has been down to take lines. So that sometimes they'll call the office for that. Sometimes they'll just they'll call the office because they need like where to go, where's a good place to eat, when does the train, when they have people coming, where to park. So for taking the funds, it's worked out very well, but still having that personal connection to help them navigate through our city is the office still rings quite often.
Okay, this Councilor Dice, that's what I was alluding to, because I know last year you mentioned about how you was working, you're on 24-hour call. So I remember that was the conversation. So, and it sounded like you still are in need, even though we didn't have as many as people voting this summer. I was just curious, how did that go? Did a lot of people, with COVID, I'm just curious, with COVID, was it less numbers of people signing up to dock in our city?
So even though they sign up and it's on an app, I have the app on my phone and I have to approve to, I get that when they sign up. So I have to approve it to make sure we have space on the waterfront. And so I still have to answer those. But we didn't have, we still are very busy. I mean, we had a couple mega yachts. We had a few, probably more Coast Guard visits than we've had in the past. We did have the Mayflower. We had, let's see, we had the New York Fireboat that was there all summer. We also had a couple other tall ships that came down. They weren't there for a long time, but they do come over the weekend. So they do have staff on board and they still need things. So it really wasn't, I don't think, the mayor might think different, but I don't think it was a really slow summer. I mean, it wasn't as busy as we want, but for being COVID, there were still people coming in by boat.
This Councilor Dice, thank you so much. I'm just thinking, usually though, in the winter time, because I was looking at the contract, it's broken up in 2 seasons, 7,000 and 7,000. Is it?
Oh, no.
No?
No.
Okay.
No, it's 7,000 period. It's
Oh,
3,500.
Each period, okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for, Councilor Dice. Thank you so much for clarifying that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, this is President Dominguez. Thank you, Councilor Dice, for those questions. And at this time, is there any other councilor that wishes to speak or has a question or comment? Councilor, well, let me call on President Pro Tem Nartatis.
I just want to make a comment that Barbara made about sometimes the mayor has to take the roads, right? Mayor Passero, that's some welcome. Welcome to our city. You've got the mayor out there. So this is this is truly a team effort. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, President Pro Tem Nartatis, for the comment. I think that's just another task that the mayor puts on himself even more. But thank you. We appreciate that. All right, Councilor.
Mr. President, if I might say, Barbara can grab the lines, but then somebody has to be there to make sure Barbara doesn't get pulled into the water with the line.
Right.
She's about 50 pounds soaking wet.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we'll have Councilor Sadi. Go ahead, sir.
Well, first of all, follow up to Councilor Nartatis. Thank goodness the mayor's a sailor. Yeah. I'm sure he knows how to work lines. Okay, tie them both up. So you're right. That's a great welcome. At this point in time, I would like to make a motion to increase the salary from $7,000 by 5% which would equal a $300 increase to $7,300.
This is Councilor Burke. I will second that amendment.
Okay, there has been a motion placed. There has been a second. All right, now this is President Dominguez. It's open to discussion. I saw a hand lifted up. President Pro Tem Natsatsis, go ahead.
So just to be clear, not only for the council, but also for the general public. So Barbara, your salary is paid out of the Port Authority budget, correct?
Correct. Anything that they raise, it comes out of there. It's not out of the general fund. Correct.
Okay. All right. I want to be clear on that. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? This is President Dominguez. Councilor Sadi, go ahead.
Yes, so I've made this motion because again, as we heard from the dock master, everything that she has to do down there, and I'd be willing to bet dimes to dollars on a per hourly rate. So I think again, she does a great job, hardworking lady, and I think entitled to a pay raise at this point in time. Thank you very much.
President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Councilor Sadi. Councilor Goodwin, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Council President. More of a comment. Again, we're at this point a year later. I believe my first time in council, we had the same thing happen. And I think I instructed the council, my fellow colleagues then, as I would now, that I think this is an inappropriate, even more so now in the midst of a pandemic, to discuss raises regardless of the funds. I think in fairness to what's happening, I think what we should be doing is not doing this here. We should be having this conversation in our upcoming budget with the administration on either looking at the scope of work and or looking at expanding how much we attribute to the services that Barbara Neff do. I don't think this is a conversation warranted at this present time, nor under the duress that we're going on financially regardless. I just think, again, we shouldn't be doing this here in public forum. We should be having these conversations as to what our spending priorities are in public. I'm not in public. And I also think it warrants further conversation. So I would not be in favor of supporting these based on the morals I had in my first meeting as a counselor. And now I just think that's irresponsible of us as counselors. But this is not to take away from the work that Ms. Neff is doing on the pier.
Okay, President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Councilor Goodwin. Councilor Burke, go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, President Dominguez. I have nothing, but I just wanted to perhaps invite as their liaison and the fact that I believe Mayor Passero is the only voting member of the Port Authority present right now. If perhaps he would want to provide some perspective on whether, as a member of the Port Authority, whether he was comfortable or not with such an amendment.
Okay, well, thank you for throwing me on the hot seat here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Barbara. I think not that Ms. Neff doesn't deserve it. She certainly does. She's an incredible asset down there. But I do appreciate Councilor Goodwin's procedural points, and I would certainly strongly consider writing an increase in the budget for next year. I also think that the Port Authority, out of respect for that agency and the work they do, should weigh in and comment on that too. So it's a contract that there's probably a way you could do it too that she doesn't have to wait the whole year. Because the budget process is in May and we approved the budget in July. We probably could amend the contract mid-year, depending how we get through the budget process. But I'd like to see the city's Port Authority write that raise into their budget when they do their budget and when they present their budget to the city council. I just think procedurally that's the way it should go. Either that or having had the Connecticut Port, the City Port Authority vote for that raise when they approve the contract, which they approved the contract as it was sent to you. So, and I don't even think Barbara would disagree with that. But I do agree she deserves she deserves an increase. I mean, money is not, money every year, the value of a dollar is less. And I'd like to at least see our employees and contractors keep up with the cost of living. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Passero. This is Councilor Burke. One other follow-up. So just to clarify to whoever's on that could answer this, perhaps Director McBride, if this contract is passed tonight as is, we would be able to, after the adoption of the next fiscal year's budget, make an amendment to this contract should, both the council wish, with input of the Port Authority?
Yes, this is Director McBride. We can revise the contract after the budget process and increase, put the increase into next year's budget once the Port Authority and the council approve next year's budget.
Okay. Well, just seeing as, thank you, Mayor Passero, for providing that perspective. And I'll echo that I definitely think that, the work that Ms. Neff does is highly valued. Since her salary comes straightly out of the Port Authority's budget, I think it would be best for the Port Authority to have some weigh in on any changes to their budget. So knowing that, I will withdraw my second to the motion on the floor.
Okay, this is President Dominguez. The second for the motion has been withdrawn. Councilor Sadi?
You're looking for me to withdraw the motion then?
Yes, because if you withdraw the second, I imagine, because.
Okay, yeah, I will have no problem withdrawing the motion then, withdrawing the motion to amend.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, it's the second has been withdrawn, and also the motion from Councilor Sadi has also been withdrawn. Councilor Dice, I did see your hand.
I did. This is Councilor Dice speaking, and I do appreciate the fact that Councilor Goodwin brought up that we did not want people raises being brought up during council meeting. Appropriate thing for us to have that discussion prior to, and I do appreciate Mayor Passero that you stated that it needs to be a part of the port. It is a part of the Port Authority budget, and they do need to weigh in. I don't feel comfortable weighing into other budgets if they haven't approved it. So I just want to put that out there, and and I had no doubt that Barbara Neff is not worth what she does at the Port Authority. I saw it last year of the changes and the input and the things that she have implemented. And so that's my take on it. And this is Councilor Dice speaking.
Okay, this is President Dominguez speaking. Is there any other councilor? All right, with that, you know what, I'll just say this. I know that Barbara Neff has worked hard and will continue to work hard, and I will defer to the comments of both Mayor Passero and also Councilor Goodwin. So we'll do that. All right. So with that said, we're gonna go and vote. All right. So this is not it's not a roll call. So all those in favor, okay, to approve this contract, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Okay. All right, the motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yep, thank you, Barbara. All right, at this time, I'm gonna ask Councilor Goodwin, you're on.
8.2, move to Cam.
Councilor Dice second.
Okay, so we'll give that to President Pro Tem. Seconded.
8.2, agreement with Neff Productions, event coordinator. City Council hereby approves a contract with Barbara J. Neff Production LLC to provide services as a city event coordinator for the calendar year of 2021, and further authorize the mayor to sign such agreement. I guess I'll just give you the overview of why I personally pulled it. My thoughts are in line with our earlier finance meeting, where we want to kind of consolidate efforts and funnel them into a ecosystem, if you will, of some sort, so that we could better optimize our results in the end. And I think our events should be subjected to that same process, so that we're more efficient and making sure we're getting the most bang for our buck. I did have a couple of questions with the follow-up that was received from Ms. Neff. Based on what you've seen in your report for this fiscal year, it was roughly $7,413.75. use from leftover funds from 2019 to cover this year's funds. So assuming that all things remain the same, would you suggest that our budget for next year, and again, assuming all things COVID related remain the same, would suffice at $8,000 to replicate what was done this year?
If COVID stayed the same?
All things considered of what went into planning, executing, and funding this year's events, all things stayed the same, which would include wearing masks and social distancing from level 2 to level, forget what level we're in now. It's like Jumanji. All things staying the same, would next year's budget suffice?
So if you looked at the events that I ran this year, I could do the same events with $8,000. Yes. Yep.
Got it. So that would leave roughly, if my math is serving me correctly, about $12,000 left of monies to be able to be used. Is there a plan?
No. So
all things. Go right ahead.
So so I did not use the $20,000 that was budgeted.
Barbara, excuse me. I'm
Correct.
sorry. Let me just, sorry. Just make sure that you state your name every time you are about to answer or speak. All right. Just
I
because we're recording.
apologize.
I know, guys, I forget sometimes. So it's for everyone. Okay.
Yep.
Go
So Barbara Neff,
Thank you.
so I used $8,000 to run the events this year. So that's for the budget year up till June. So you have $20,000 that was budgeted to me that I did not use.
That's
So because my events usually start at the end of June, the beginning of July. So I don't get that budget money until July 1st. So typically I have money left over. And so I use that money to do the first event, if need be. And so you have $20,000 left from last year. So yes, if you wanted me to run starting in July, $8,000, correct. You would have 12,000 that you could spend in your budget somewhere else, correct? Yes.
Got it. Understood.
Even though my contract is a yearly contract, I just wanted, it's a budget year that you fund me.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. My other question was, I guess I'll piggyback off of the mayor's comments that you were graciously, I should say, actually, and thank you for it, helping to coordinate our winter festival activities. Is this something that you're planning to do next year as well under the existing contract? Has there been conversations of doing this again next year, replicating your services for the winter festival, or is this just a unique situation? Just curious.
So Barbara Neff again, that conversation hasn't come into play, but I would think that we've spent so much planning making what this is that you definitely would put it in next year and make it bigger and better. So yes, I
Correct.
think you would include this, whether it's part of this contract or whatever. I think you definitely include it.
Right. And I think that's a great point for me to leave off at, and I'll yield the floor and then I'll circle back if there's time permitting. The fact that there's room to optimize our spend here. And I want to make sure that we do that with having more dialogue with Barbara Neff in terms of, based off of what we see now and what we went through, we know 8,000 covers replicating that. So we already know that's covered. And I think there's room to identify the additional funds to start optimizing our opportunities to attract and funnel people there. I think there's room to include our marketing efforts into this if we were able to expand upon their services and, add a considerable amount of funding to target events and to target folks to come here and to see, New London as a destination or an attraction place. I think these events should fall in line. So I think there's some cross collaboration that could happen there. And I think this conversation was a start to that dialogue. But I'll yield the floor at this time for any more questions.
Yeah, and for the record, this is President Dominguez speaking, but for the record, that was Councilor Goodwin.
Councilor Goodwin. Thank
Yes,
you. Sorry.
and guys, I don't mean to be, but even when we're having conversation, you're going back and forth, always make sure that you stay because it's being recorded, and that's what I've been charged to do. All right. But we family, but I got to keep you guys.
I was hoping we have a lot of followers that tune in each and every first and second Monday.
Yeah.
They know my voice by now.
Yes. I know. but it's again, because it's being recorded, so, whoever listens it, they'll know. Let me see, Councilor Dice, go ahead.
This is Counselor Dice, and my question is to you, Barbara Neff. I'm curious, not curious, but I'm not sure. Do you get reimbursed after you produce a performance or show, or is it you get your funds up front and then you submit a check to show how it's spent? I unfortunately, I don't know how is a check and balance.
So what happens is I get the budget money in July, and then I that's obviously not enough to run the events. So I work on sponsorship to get more money to run the events. And then I show at the end, I give you a P&L.
Okay, profit and loss. Okay, just Counselor Dice, just so they know, P&L is a profit and loss statement. So you show how the money is spent. This is Counselor Dice again. So when you don't spend all the funds, you also, I think this question may need to go to our finance director, because I just want to make sure this he have a running record of what is carryover, so that they're check and balance. That what he says that what you gave with your profit and loss statement and what wasn't spent. I just want to I'm just curious about the check and balance. That's all.
Yes, this is Director McBride. We work hand in hand, going back and forth with various reporting, but I do want to provide additional information. There's two components that are on this CAM. One is for, and Barbara can explain further, I would imagine. One is for the consultant salary of the $25,000, and the other is for the events that is $20,000. So there's two components of this CAM. And Barbara, would you like to elaborate on that?
Sure. So what happens is, obviously $20,000 doesn't run 6 events. And if you look at my report from 2019, because some of you weren't counselors back then, I ran 13 events for that. Now, $20,000 doesn't run 13 events, so I get sponsorships to help run those events. So obviously I try to get more sponsors than what I think my budget's going to be. And then if I do that, then I have some money left over. When I come into council with my report, then I ask you, this is how much money I have left over. What would you like me to do with it? Would you like me to cut a check back to the city at the end of the year, or would you like me to keep it and use it for next year? The council has always asked me to keep it and put it towards next year. But every year I ask them how you want me to do it. Do you want the check cut back to the city, or do you want me to roll it into next year? And what typically every year they have said, roll it into next year. This year I was asked by Councilor Goodwin to just use the money that was left over. So that's what I did.
This Counselor Dice, thank you for answering the question. And thank you, Director McBride, for responding as well.
This is President Dominguez speaking, and I can attest to what Barbara just said, that's how it's happened for the past councils. She does come up with whatever it is left over, and she does ask us if we are to either she'll use it or send it back to the general fund. Okay. So with that said, is there enough? Okay, I see Councilor. Let me go to Councilor Sadi, and then Councilor Booker, you'll go after. Go ahead, Councilor Sadi.
Yes, Councilor Sadi. This is a question through you, Council President Dominguez, to the consultant, Barbara Neff. On page 2, under D, it talks about consultant understands that the total budget funds allotted by the city is $20,000. So the figure is 20,000. Is that correct?
That's the budget you provide, correct?
Right. And then under item number 5, city agrees to pay consultant for the work performed by the consultant at a rate of $25,000 per year, which amount shall be paid in quarterly installments. Is it my understanding that the salary was different last year, or is this the same, the 25,000? Well, for some reason I thought it was 26,000 last year.
Yeah, I want to say it was 26,000 too. I don't know if Jeff didn't have. I don't know. I did not check it. I did not know that the events contract was going to be put on And so I didn't know until last Monday. So I did not check it.
So through you, Council President, to Finance Director McBride, is it possible to check what the salary was last year?
Yes, I don't have that in front of me right now, but I am looking at a budget document that was approved by the council. And in your council budget, there is a set aside for 25,000 for the salary and 20,000 for event budget. So that would lead me to believe that that was the number that was approved. I do recall, and Barbara, you may know, there was an increase in one of these. I think it was a slight increase of maybe $400, $500 that was increased last year prior to this budget being finalized. But that's the number that we have in the budget, so I would assume that was what was approved.
And unless somebody else has something, I don't have a further question at this moment.
All right, let me just say this real quick. This is President Dominguez. It is 25,000, and we pay her 6,250 quarterly. That's how it.
Is that the same as last year, Councilor Goodwin here?
Yes.
All right, and that was Barbara. Yep. Is that who are you addressing that to, Councilor Goodwin? I don't know if it was that toward your question.
I guess directly, I was directing towards either yourself or the finance director, but I think Barbara Neff just answered that was the same as last year. Wasn't sure the relevancy of that, so I'll just make sure I didn't miss anything with regard to that. The only other statement that I had was, Ms. Neff, you had mentioned that I had authorized.
Councilor Goodwin, only because I wanted to, Councilor Sadi, I think was done, and the next one in line was gonna be, can you hold that statement for, after Councilor Booker? Thank you, sir. All right, Councilor Booker, go ahead.
Thank you very much, President Dominguez. To you, President Dominguez, to consultant Ms. Barbara Neff. From a business standpoint and your 30+ years of expertise, what do you foresee being challenges for next year and hosting different events, and how are you planning around these challenges?
Barbara Neff to Councilor Booker. So obviously we're still trying to figure out what we can do. What I did this year is I brought in some, as you know, the Halloween event, we did distancing, so we did something different. I actually have the Mike's Harley group that was very happy with the event and want to come back and actually do, if possible, do vendors and do a bigger event on the waterfront. I worked with Willie Quiones and we did Latin flags on the waterfront, which we purchased out of the budget this year, which was something new. We'll have to replace those, but that was something new. And I know a lot of people were really happy to see that on the waterfront this year. And we put fun facts about the 21 different countries, which was something different, but it was social distancing and, keeping with what we could do on the waterfront. We taught kids to fish this year, and we can do that. It was very easily done. We had to take less families, but we had enough volunteers we made sure everybody signed a release. We took temperatures, we asked COVID questions. We only put families together. And so we could do that event again. So I think we can definitely have the same events that we had this year, and working with the events that we're doing during the multicultural Christmas holiday. We're doing live elves behind glass and Santa behind glass, and we're working with the businesses to promote the businesses. So I think there's ways to do events. We just have to be careful how we do them, and just they're not getting 100,000 people together. It's just different.
Thank you very much, Ms. Barbara Neff. Appreciate you, and no further questions. Thank you.
Yeah, this is President Dominguez speaking. I'm going to let Councilor Goodwin go, but let me just say the statement real quick. I appreciate, Barbara, everything you're saying about the events and those that have been effective. And I really loved, a lot of the events, but especially that new one that you brought in with the flags, with the pier, collaborating with Willie Quinones. That was great. So I'm looking for like that freshness of new ideas to come in. And, I think that's something that's going to draw even more. And, so I guess I could use the illustration about, that when you do the same thing over and over again, even though, it could be effective, which I'm not saying take away the events that are effective, but bring new ones in that will attract maybe other people. Okay, so with that said, that was just a comment. And then with that said, let me just go to
You go to
Councilor
Councilor
Goodwin.
Dice. I'll yield the floor to Councilor Dice.
Okay, Councilor Dice, go ahead.
No, I just had a question because I guess right now I'm trying to make sure I understand because last year, was it this contract, Councilor Sadi, that you asked for a raise for Barbara Neff? I just trying to make sure that I'm lining stuff up. This is Councilor Dice speaking.
If that's a question to me, Council President, I'll attempt to answer that.
Yes, I believe, I believe that, yep, she addressed it. Councilor Dice, excuse me, addressed it to you, Councilor.
So
I should have went through the president.
yeah,
No, you did. You went to the president and, yep.
I do believe that this is the contract that we did request a increase.
Okay. Okay, this is Councilor Dice. Thank you, Councilor Sadi, because I just wanted to make sure I'm just lining everything up and making sure I understand. Okay, thank you, President. Pro Temp, I yield the floor.
Thank you, Councilor Dice. This is President Dominguez. Okay, now we'll go to Councilor Goodwin, sir. Go ahead.
So I'm just wondering here, so originally my intent was to send this back to a subcommittee so that one, the council can, look into the scope of the events that we're looking to do and, possibly including this winter event. Because if you look at the contract, it doesn't specify what specific events we're going to get. And I think it should have a little bit more oversight to make sure we have the diverse array of events that also fall in line with our marketing efforts and our branding efforts so that we have a holistic effect to really push New London forward. And as you just alluded to, Council President, we should be, optimizing, expanding and looking at this time during COVID where we couldn't really do or reach our full potential to come back next year with some new, fresh and innovative ideas that can be translating into results. So with that said, I guess my point of saying this is I'm not sure if it makes the most sense if we, like we did with in the Finance Committee with Main Street, excuse me, I was forgetting my train of thought, if we funnel this through EDC so it can have some oversight and, through myself as liaison, I can represent the council in terms of, that dialogue that we have in terms of events and the scope of events. Or do we just refer this back to committee? So I guess I yield the floor to anyone who has a comment, but I definitely think it deserves to be funneled in through our marketing efforts and our ODP efforts as well.
Thank you, Councilor Goodwin. This is President Dominguez speaking. At this time, President Pro Tem Rantatis, go ahead. You have the floor.
President Dominguez. So, historically, the city has had a very close relationship with Barbara Neff, right? And several times when Barbara has come to council, she always says, I will do what you want, meaning that she has asked for our input, for feedback. She runs her ideas. She provides us with the events that she's going to execute that year. And I see Councilor Goodwin's point where we want to be consistent with, looking at, is our dollar being well spent and are we having the input from the community. But in the case of Barbara Neff's contract, I think it would be easier, two things. One, I prefer to have less hands in this. And number two, I think that if the council or the community had suggestions on what we wanted to see differently, I think Barbara would be open to that. Sure. Without having to send it here or send it there. And that's how I feel about it. I think I want to keep it simple. But still get the buy-in from the community and especially the direction of this council. Thank you, President Dominguez.
Okay, this is President Dominguez. Thank you, President Pro Tem Rantatis. Any other councilor wishes to speak? Okay, so let me say this. Okay, Councilor Sadi, go ahead.
No, go right ahead because I was just going to make a move.
So I think, all right, sir. So this is President Dominguez speaking. Sort of to comment on what Councilor Goodwin suggested. I guess you have been approached by different people. Like I guess Willie Quinones approached you about doing the flags and so on. But I don't know how many people are doing that. That's my thing. So I think if we send it again, if we send it to our our committee, all right, the Economic Development Committee, and just we're able to has a council caucus and brainstorm and come back and share some ideas that we seem to, that's going to bring more diversity. I think that's the way we should go, and that's just me. And again, I believe Barbara will be open to that. I don't think it's, you know what I mean? The more ideas you share with people, the more things that you can suggest, you know what I mean? And if it works out, then we'll do it. If it doesn't, if Barbara sees that, oh, you know, I don't know if that's, then, you know, it's all about collaborating together. I think that, I don't know how many, and again, Barbara, because we haven't really gone into all this, but I know you've been doing this for many years already, but I don't know how many people do approach you about bringing about different ideas and, how, like sort of, always having people around you just suggest, different things, you know what I mean? So I think I would rather do the finance committee, not the finance, but the economic development committee, our committee, and then we can caucus, talk about it, and then we'll come back with some ideas. That's just me, but I see, go ahead.
Okay. Was there other discussion?
Oh yeah, anybody? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Sadi, did you want to? Thank you, Councilor Goodwin. Did you want to say something, Councilor Sadi?
No, I'll wait till Councilor Goodwin finishes.
Okay.
So as council liaison to economic development, which has to do with the marketing, the branding, development, and just really getting, a holistic, viewpoint of how our city operates funds, and to think that we would miss this opportunity to ensure that we have collaboration. I think that's a missed opportunity, especially in something that we're paying a salary towards, and we're in the midst of a pandemic, and there's clearly room to operate. It shows it in our year-over-year budget that comes from there. There's opportunity to discuss expansion, ways to improve. I think the notion of her coming back to council defeats the purpose. If we, kind of meet as we do as a caucus and as a team to, have that incubation period, she's free to run off and make those partnerships without any strings attached, et cetera. It would behoove us, and it would optimize our results in the end if we have that conversation ahead of time. And as council liaison, I would strongly advise that we do so. The only other suggestion that I would make outside of making this motion to send it to committee is amending that she comes back to us so that we can approve of the 6 things. So that way she has freedom to go and have that dialogue and comes back to us, and we can amend we can authorize the spending of the such 6 events at that time. But otherwise, I'd like to make a motion.
All right. Hold on. This is President Dominguez speaking. Councilor Goodwin. Let me go to Barbara real quick. Okay, Barbara Neff, go ahead. I think she froze.
So
Yep.
last year last year, Barbara Neff speaking. So last year you approved the contract, and then I came back to you and I said, these are the events that I'm looking at doing. And I went back to you a few times, and then you guys gave me input. And I don't have a problem doing that. My only question is, are you going to want a budget broken down? Because that's a little difficult sometimes, because I'm working on getting sponsorships. I'm working on getting performers and things like that, depending what the year is. So I'm just asking the question.
Got it. And I think that question makes a lot of sense in terms of the logistics of it, which furthers the point of having that dialogue ahead of time and letting you be able to go and, pivot and make that budget if we were able to give you some directions and or had input and be collaborative from the beginning. So I guess at this point, I'll make a motion to refer this to Economic Development Committee.
I'll second.
This is Councilor Burke, second.
Okay. It has been seconded by Councilor Burke. All right. At this time, any discussion? Let's go to Councilor Dice, and then I'll go to President Pro Tem Nartates. Go ahead, Councilor Dice.
This is Councilor Dice speaking. I just want to reiterate that if you come to the meeting, if you share what was successful, even if we had it beforehand, because we can look at how it could be expanded to meet the different culture in our community, I think that would be helpful, because I would want a meeting that can go quickly, but also can give great direction with making sure that all of the multimedia, website, everything streamlined, and we be able to support the the events that you're going to be providing for New London. This is Councilor Dice speaking.
Thank you, Councilor Dice. This is President Dominguez speaking, and President Pro Tem Natsatsas, go ahead.
Thank you, President Dominguez. This is President Pro Tem. So just to be clear, the motion is to refer this to Economic Development, where the Economic Development Committee, our committee, will vet, suggest, maybe refine suggestions for events, and then go back to Barbara with that prior to approving the contract. Is that what I'm understanding? This is a question for, I guess, through you, President, to Councilor Goodwin.
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay.
So to get all of that out ahead of time. So once we sign it, she's kind of off to the races and running.
Okay, and I would assume that this is going to be done quickly, to not have any kind of finance issues that we might have, since we're not going to be approving this tonight.
That would be correct. As you're aware, on the agenda originally, we also had our RFPs for our collaborative marketing and video arm. So I think now that once everything is approved, we have all the right players to begin those meetings and to be back here very shortly.
Okay, the second question is to Barbara Neff. I see you have your hand up. You wanted to say something. Go ahead.
So my question is, during the year, sometimes people will come to me and say, hey, Barbara, you know, we will like the motorcycle group. They would say, hey, could we do this on the waterfront? How would we do this? Could you help us with this? You know, could you use some of your funds, whatever. So to my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you would then tell me the 6 events you want me to run, and then I would just run with those.
I go right ahead, Council President.
Yes. Oh, hold on. Thank you, Barbara Neff. This is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you for that question. What I foresee, okay, just I guess to clarify everything, what I'm foreseeing is that we're going to have a meeting, all right, and then we're just going to talk about some ideas, bring out some new things that, you know, we can come up with. And I don't call this is not micromanaging. You know what I mean? You have your events, but if there may be something else that we can come up and we'll share with you. And for me, if you think that's something that it's viable, that's able to do, then you can run with it. I mean, that's what I see again. So I could be, this is what I see. It's like a think tank. We're going to be thinking about, you know, different events, not taking away the events you're doing, but let's say that maybe I was like a Willie Quinones and I came up with something like that. You know what I mean? And I was part of this. That's what I'm saying. That's what I foresee.
Okay.
So go ahead, Councilor. I think it was it Goodwin that wanted to say, or Councilor Burke? I'm sorry, Councilor Burke.
Thank you very much, President Dominguez. Yeah, so just to comment on that, I mean, you know, because yeah, I agree, you know, to sort of give a non-answer to Barbara's question, you know, I appreciate the council having, you know, input. I know that you have reached out for feedback in the past and have been receptive to feedback. You know, so I both see a benefit to us playing a more direct role in, you know, having the programming of what events are, but I also see how that could hinder if a certain talent becomes available in a timely fashion that you think, you know, would be a great contributor to the culture here in New London, and certain events were other pre-approved, how that could be a hindrance to the work that you do. So this is why I think especially this could use more discussion because in a committee meeting, because it's not so simple. And, you know, because of that, I'll save, I plan on supporting the referral and I'll save all my other input for that meeting.
Okay. You know what, this is President Dominguez speaking. I understand what Councilor Burke is saying, but my thing is on you know, seeing everybody nodding, I'm not foreseeing that we're taking away the events from her. That's not what I'm doing. That's what I don't foresee. And I don't think that's what Councilor Goodwin means. We're not going to take, you know, the 6 events, you know, we're going to cross them out. No good. We don't want that. We just want to share ideas with you and see what you think about these other things. And maybe that could fit in there. You know what I mean? And if not, then it doesn't fit. You know, that's what I foresee. And I think that's what Councilor Goodwin is expressing.
Right. So just really quickly, we have $200,000 in marketing efforts. I think it would behoove us to not work in silos so that they understand a footprint or have a working dialogue as to market those events or have someone present I also think it behooves us to understand the new branding messaging. We could look at some of the events that we do. Moving from the pier and moving up towards the Parade Plaza, we can identify locations that we need to be gateways and to have presence during consolidated efforts of weekend-long events. There's just so much room for dialogue, and it's not that simple logistically, hence me referring it to the committee. But in no way do I think we should stifle your ability to have smaller events with things as they arise and community members, make access of you. So I just wanted to definitely say that.
Okay, this is President Dominguez speaking. President Pro Tem Natsatas, I saw your hand raised.
I'm just going to make a quick comment before we go to the vote. For me, what's really important is that we collaborate. Right? We have to collaborate. It is not about us, as you mentioned. We already have enough on our plate. The last thing we want to do is micromanage anybody, right?
Yes.
But to Councilor Goodwin's point, we've got to watch the dollars. There's some accountability. This is a collaboration. It's not a directive. And I want to make that perfectly clear. Okay, that's what I'm supporting tonight. Thank you.
Okay. All right. See no other conversation. Oh, Councilor Dice.
This is Councilor Dice, and everybody hit it. We need to be seamless. We need to show how everything goes together and all across the website and media. So that's where I'm going to be supporting it, just putting it out there. This is Councilor Dice.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Dice. This is President Dominguez. All right. So the motion that right now is on the table is to send 8.2, right? The agreement with Net Productions contract to the Economic Development Committee. All right, so all those in favor, okay, say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed say nay. Okay, so the motion, carries. All righty. Okay, thank you so much, Barbara,
Thank
for your
you.
time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye. All right, so at this time, we will continue to 8.5. That's you, Councilor Goodwin.
Move to Cam.
Second, this is Councilor Patio, second that.
Thank you.
Do you need me to read this or get right into it?
Oh, I think, just get right into
I'll
it.
read. Right.
Read it, whatever you want.
The City Council hereby authorizes the mayor to enter into a lease agreement with the International Family Life Enrichment Center to permit the city to rent space at 327 Henderson Street, New London, Connecticut, for use as a virtual learning pod for New London Public Schools and/or the City Recreation Department, and further authorizes the mayor to sign said lease. So through you to, if Parks and Rec is on here, I just thought this was a great time because I'm sure this is going to come up until we exhaust all funds. Just to get a quick update, I know in our last funding round, we authorized funding for someone to coordinate these efforts. Just recently, I seen in a day paper, these efforts have actually materialized into fruitful things. There was kids making great use of the Garth Art Space. And now we're planning to fund more. So I just wanted to hear an update on how we're doing. Is all of our sites hitting their capacity, and are we overextending ourselves? I just want to make sure we're making the best use out of the dollars available during this time to address the pandemic struggle for our families. And I thought it would be a good time to just get a quick update. So through you, Council President, to anyone in Parks and Recreation, Tommy, and or anyone in his staff.
Well, first of all, Sharon, I'll start, and then we'll go from there. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for giving the Recreation Department and myself this opportunity to address this issue. First of all, I want you to understand is that Sharon has done an outstanding, great job, along with the other three organizations who we have been collaborating with, and Sharon and the directors of those other organizations, and I'll mention them later on, is that their leaders are utmost professionals, but they're also hit with a situation whereas due to the fact of a lack of funds, they don't have the opportunity to address many of the issues of before the program even started. Like we usually in the past, just like with our playgrounds, we get our staff together and we inform them different and brief them on, you know, how how the program goes. So what I'm basically saying, if you really want to go, is this is a one of those opportunities that they never had an opportunity to, you know, train the staff. And so they're limited in a variety of different ways, you know. But the main issue of this whole matter is to assist the families in New London. And you know, and they also haven't had a chance to do a lot of marketing due to the fact of some of the you know, of the expenses and also time. You know, you have to also understand is that this program, this hybrid program, has only existed for a couple of months, and with the professionalism of the collaboration of the other organizations, you know, I think they've done an outstanding, great job in trying to fulfill the needs for the city. Now I'll get to the point where we have a variety of different locations, and what these professionals have tried to are attempting to do is make life easier for the families in London. So what they do is they have a variety of different pods that are located in a variety of different areas within the city to make it easy, such as the God Theater, you know, the very difficult pod that we have is Ocean Beach, but at the time that was the best facility that we could receive, and I still feel it's a good facility, but it does not assist many of the help to, you know, help the families, because, you know, it deals with, time. You know, you could live, maybe hypothetically live on Broad Street, but then you have to take your child to Ocean Beach. So what these professionals are doing is trying to have these different pods in various different locations, and to make it easier for the parents. And then also the situation with these pods, they are also putting them in different areas where it makes it easier to work with a variety of different schools, such as Winthrop, such as Jennings School, and, you know, and so, and also with outside people who live on the outside, to, you know, help them when they go to EB or go to Pfizer's or any other occupation that is outside the city. So it makes it easier for them. Now, as far as the day-to-day, I will pass that off to Sharon to assist to make you understand more so what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Assistant Director Sharon Bousquet. I just wanted to point out each site has some different highlights and differences that are associated with it. So Tommy mentioned Ocean Beach, beautiful site, and we have a lot of outdoor space that we can use with the kids, a huge area to separate the kids, a lot of space down there. So while the capacity was set at 60 and we're probably close to 45, not too far off from 60, it is one of the lower sections of the city, as Tommy pointed out. So we're still marketing that site, still trying to get a few more people in, but it fluctuates. People are in and out. Sometimes we have like teachers' children that they were offered possibly 4 days a week, so they're not able to come all those days. So then we have a whole bunch of new families coming in. It's definitely an up and down. We've had a few non-residents, you know, that have not stopped coming, and then new kids are coming. It's definitely a very positive site down there. It's a great place to be. The kids seem to be flourishing. They're able to connect in the internet very easily. We haven't had much difficulty with that at all. And then we have the new site, the Miracle Temple, that opened up. And that is just a Wednesday site. We received a lot of phone calls for parents that just needed that Wednesday help, where they were going 4 days a week. A lot of our special needs children are going 4 days a week, and they just need that Wednesday assistance when the whole school system is shut down. So that's the purpose right now, because we couldn't overlap those cohorts between the kids that were going 3 days a week and those that are going, you know, we're just in that Wednesday group. So we're trying to get that taken care of, but that does require additional teachers as well for possible one-on-one help and whatnot. And then certainly the Guard and St. James that the drop-in is running, the Guard is set up to run a middle school pod, which is a huge group of kids that just need that extra help, that maybe they could stay by themselves, but they're not flourishing by themselves. They need that extra support and that direction to help them on a day-to-day basis. And they're connected online throughout the day to their teachers, which is very different from our elementary population, which has a lot of activities that are planned, and they're not connected at all times to their teachers throughout the day. So our teachers really have to focus and help those elementary kids a lot more, where the middle school kids need more direction to stay online, to stay engaged with their teacher. So it's a huge, a great partnership we have with the Drop-In, that they're running that site, and it's a process to get the kids in the door. It's not a snap your fingers and they just all show up. I know she's been working at that. Their site has been working really hard to try and connect. We have a meeting with the school on Thursday to try and get the word out through Benny Dover and Isaac to try and get more kids in the door with that. But it's kind of a pilot, if you will, a pilot to give it a couple months to see. I don't want to say we're going to throw all the elementary kids in the Guard when we haven't given a chance to really get those middle school kids in. And this new lease that we're talking about with the International Family, it's a whole different location than Ocean Beach. It's right there next to 95 for our families that are headed out of New London to work. It is right next to a complex, a housing complex. It's closer to downtown. It's a great location. It's more convenient for a lot of people. As Tommy alluded to, it's right next to Winthrop. It just has so many more possibilities. We have the opportunity to offer aftercare there. A lot of parents asked us for aftercare as opposed to being able to pick up their children at 3 o'clock. It's just a different positives. Each site has something different to offer. And transportation, we were able to offer transportation for the Guard for some of those kids to go. We'll also be able to offer transportation at this other site, the International Family Worship Center. Again, it's just different families had different needs. And Nest down at Ocean Beach, that again is another. They were offering care for kindergartners. That's huge, a huge set population that needed support. So it's not so much that we haven't filled them to capacity as much as there's a different need, where the Drop-In, it takes care for kids. A lot of families were able to go in that direction and get support, where we were offering scholarships and went about it a different way.
Thank you. And are there, this is Counselor Goodwin, through you, Council President, back to Ms. Besquet. Are there any plans to have more of these pods throughout the city, or to expand any further?
Our hope with this most recent one that you have in front of you, this is Assistant Director Busquet, sorry. Our hope is to do a 2-month pilot with this lease you have in front of us and see what the need is. If we fill it to capacity, absolutely, we'll be looking to move forward with another site. Our hope for January with the rec department is to cut our prices in half, because it's just after the holiday season. A lot of families are going to be struggling. So we're using that scholarship money that we got from the Community Foundation to cut the cost down to $30 a week instead of $60 for all families. We're going to see what that is when we put, or hopefully, if approved, we'll put this lease and the kids in this pod, as well as all the families at Ocean Beach and the Miracle Temple, and see what happens. If it doesn't work and we don't get any kids, by all means, that's, it's a month-to-month lease. Our intent is not to continue forward with something that's not working. I just want to be clear about that. We hope to give it 2 months and then see where we are. We certainly don't want to waste any money that's through the CBG.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Councilor Goodwin here. Definitely just thought it was a good idea to get an update from, you and Tommy's department to better understand, how our money is being utilized, and to understand how our families during this critical time are being supported. So I just, wanted to thank you. Typically in government, we get in this habit of waiting to the end of the process when we finally see the sunlight to commend everyone and thank them for their services. But I think it's important as a council, kind of do a check-in to make sure, you guys have the support, not only of us, but we understand as we're making decisions along the way, with your insight. So thank you.
Well, I also thank you. And this is Tom Major, the director. As I stated once before about professional and non-professional, I'm not stating as far as that the teachers or the people who are counselors who are in charge are, people off the street. I just want you to also understand, here are individuals who are assisting other families, and families are also relying on individuals who, some of them have just got out of college or still in college, but fulfilling those needs that really needs to be done within our community. So I give them the utmost support, and Councilor Diaz is also has done an outstanding job. I mean, she's assisting this community far more than one person. Sometimes I think of her as a two-person person because she's in charge of an institution, but also she's a counselor. She's also a mother. She's also a person who, and so I have the utmost respect for what she does. And with like Ness, they have a person, Mary, who I've also never met before, but I've had her on my show. And that, these are individuals that, that we as a community should be proud of. And, and that too, in the end, is that's why I said they are professionals, so I commend them, and, and so thank you for giving us this time. Thank you.
This is President Dominguez. Yep, this is President Dominguez speaking. I just thought I had myself on mute. I'm sorry, guys. I looked down, but I'm not. Anyway, so this is, so I just want to thank you, Tommy, and thank you, Sharon, for coming on board and just, giving us the information that we wanted to have and to know a little bit more about it. So, and Tommy, just to second what you say, that's why Councilor Dice is a part of this team, so we really appreciate it also. So just quickly, I have one question, and even maybe you did respond to it already, Sharon, but so we have Miracle Temple, we have Ocean Beach, we have the Goddard Center, and eventually, if we approve tonight, we're going to have the International Family Life Center, right? Enrichment Center, okay? So are these notices getting to the schools? Like I work at Benny Dover Jackson Middle School, and is it getting to us that you're having these, is that being announced? Because I don't even know if, can you?
Yes, this is Assistant Director Busquet.
Yes.
We've pushed it through the schools quite a few times, but honestly, I don't know. I don't know how often it's getting to the parents.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you again. This is President Dominguez. Unless it's going through a newsletter, but I haven't, you know what I mean? I haven't really heard of it unless it's coming through us, as counselors that we're here. And because Councilor Dice is part of the council, you know what I mean? We know about it, but I haven't heard too much about it. So that's what I'm thinking, because I have so many students that live in that area, especially if we approve tonight's pod over here on Huntington Street. I mean, I think we'll get a lot of our students to go there. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you can go ahead, Sharon, and finish.
No, we actually have again, this is Assistant Director Busquet. We have a meeting on Thursday to kind of to talk further about it. We're hoping that Superintendent Ritchie could add it to her message that goes out. That's something that most everybody reads, not everybody, but a lot of people pay attention to that more than the Facebook posts. I've definitely seen it go out on Facebook, but not everybody is on Facebook, certainly. And we're not allowed to put a flyer through the school. So it's it is difficult to reach everyone through technology, even though everyone has the computer, unless the teachers actually mention it. If there's some way that we can get it further down the line to parents, it's definitely a challenge. We have a lot of phone numbers through the survey that we gave out, but that's only the people that completed the survey. And we're going to be going down that list again and making them aware of the new opportunities that are closer to downtown. But as much of this word of mouth that we can get going as well would be very helpful.
Yeah, thank you. This is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Sharon. And just to say this, because I know during the summertime or prior to the summer, you guys in the past, we have received flyers and stuff. And I know you can't do that now because of COVID, but there has to be another way, because I know that, I mean, that's effective. You know what I mean? Whether we're sending email to the parents, there's an email blast. So they need to know these areas that are available, and we need help. So, I mean, the reality is, like you stated, you know what I mean? Some of these kids, to help out, many of the families in our community they need these areas where they can go and their parents can go to work, because I think that's what the vision is. And that's why this money has been provided to do that. So definitely looking forward to that meeting with the superintendent, and hopefully everything gets sort of, organized and done. So thank you so much, Sharon, and again, Tommy. And let me go over to, I see some hands. I'll go to Councilor Burke and then Councilor Booker, okay? You're muted, Councilor Burke. No, still muted, sir.
How is that? You can hear me now?
No.
Sorry about that. So I just wanted to respond to your point that, personally, as a parent of 3 elementary school age children, perhaps I could be wrong, but I don't remember ever seeing these programs explicitly communicated through the school communications. I know about them from being on the email list for the Parks and Rec Department. And just a comment to Assistant Director Busquet. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the school district has, very rapid communication system. You get an email, a phone call, an automated phone call, and a text message, all 3 at the same time whenever they send out any communications. Well, I think, you could ask it for the superintendent to put it in her communications. I'll provide the perspective as a parent as that comes through. Maybe I read it, maybe I don't. If I do, it's the kind of thing I skim, and maybe something at the bottom could be missed. So I would definitely, have you ask that this should be its own communication. It's too important to be the footnote at something else. And if perhaps that you need assistance of that I'm sure that I would, as several other counselors would, sign on a letter to the superintendent or to the Board of Education requesting that this gets its own communication, not as a tagline at the end of anything else.
This is President Dominguez. Thank you, Councilor Burke. That's 100% approval. You hit it right on the nail, sir. I got to tell you, that's what we got to do. That's the lane that we got to take. So I appreciate you saying those words. Thank you so much. Let me go to Councilor Booker. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, President Dominguez. To you, President Dominguez, to Assistant Director Sharon Busquet. As an educator who's been an educator for 20 years, taught high school, middle school, elementary school, we all have expectations and standards of our children, which is extremely important and crucial. And tracking our children, tracking their progress is important because we want to make sure they're able to compete, which is extremely important. So the question I have for you, as an expert, and I know you have the love for our children and within the city, what are we doing to see what's working and what is not working? And then how we can make sure that our children can continue to rise even through this pandemic and through the challenges that we're seeing at this point.
So in terms of what we as a department and teachers within the hybrid program that's opposite the school, what we're doing is we're trying to communicate really effectively with the parents and teachers as a whole to try and track those children with what the teachers want them to do. It's a whole nother ball game, if you will, where the children stand and how they're thriving or not thriving within the hybrid model. That's just, as we all know, it's not ideal. It would be much better if everybody was in school and getting that education and 100% as what they need. But we're trying to keep, as far as rec goes, we have a notebook that goes back and forth. Anytime the teacher communicates to the parent is supposed to be writing and communicating with our hybrid teacher, and they're writing notes, what's getting done, what's not getting done. If something's not going well, they're supposed to let our teacher know so we can focus more on it when they're at the hybrid school. It's not the answer. It would be so much better to have them in school with that teacher all the time. I couldn't say that enough. But it's we're doing the absolute best that we can when the parent is not, isn't the person that's there to watch them 100% of the time. We want to make sure that we support that. But it's definitely not a perfect situation.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, apologize. I also would like to add is one of the reasons why I said that in the beginning, that as far as we have the professionals and then we have our staff, and due to the fact is this came on us. This is not a situation we had any orientations or we had even any chance to have planning process. It was basically within 2 weeks prior to or whatever, that, hey, we want to assist our community and help them out there. But, you know, as far as, you're absolutely right. If this was a process that we had an opportunity to do these things, we could do that. But I just want you to understand, those 4 professionals did this in a way whereas, you know, they plan on to directly towards to assist the people and not have the opportunity to, you know, to have a pre-season to make the thing. So I just want everybody to understand that matter is that they really didn't have the opportunity to have what you're asking. But, you know, as time goes on, I guarantee you those 4 professionals will have it, and we'll probably be, not probably, we will be the best in the state of Connecticut.
I want to say thank you very much, Mr. Major, and thank you, Ms. Bousquet, for your hard work and also for your honesty and for your love and passion for our great city. And if you need any help with dealing with getting information to Isaac, I'm on the board. Please email me. Okay, I'm on the board of directors for Isaac. All right, because we want to get this information out as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Booker. But obviously you don't know who I am. You shouldn't say that. I'll be chasing you down.
I know you, man.
Only joking.
This is President Dominguez. Chase him down, Mr. Majors. Chase him down. All right. So before we vote, I just want to thank. Did you have Councilor Dice? Did you have your hand raised? I'm sorry. Did you speak?
Councilor Dice.
Yes, go ahead.
I did want to make a statement. And
yes.
One of the things that, as a community, that when Booker made the statement about what we're doing for the kids, what we need to be aware of is that our kids are frightened. Our middle school kids, they're concerned about their lifespan and their family, and we just need to be mindful that is going on. And one of the things that this hybrid model program do is try to bring normalcy to the kids, because remember, they're going to be with us longer than they are in school. They're with us 3 days out the week compared to school. So you want to also make sure that you remind them that they're valuable, they have input, that you got to let them be creative, having time to do things. You got to also encourage them to think beyond what's happening now. But you also just got to be there and sometimes just listen. And if they just need a time just to chill for a moment, allow that to happen, because it is hard to learn distantly and also wanted to be with your friends and not able to be with your friends. So I just want to say thank you. When you were speaking, Mr. Major, I was thinking, who's he talking about? And I actually put my head down and was like, oh, but I tell you, I'm thankful. So one of the things that I want you guys to be aware of, for the middle school students that's not there, those middle school kids are at home working with their younger siblings. And one of the things that the drop is doing, and I tell people, if they have middle school kids, I have gifts that people are donating for middle school kids, because we always thinking about the younger ones, which we should, because we can sign them up with Tommy Toys, but we have gifts for 13 and over for the older kids. And it's just important to know that that's what the drop is doing, and we're pushing it out there. And when people pick up the food, get out the flyers then. That's what Jenny Milstein did. She gave out the flyers when people came up to pick up the meals on Saturday at the Wellers Helping Wellers. So I'm through talking, because it's been an emotional night for me. So excuse me. This Councilor Dice speaking. I'm done for the night.
This is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Councilor Dice, for your words. And, you know, again, before we vote, I'm gonna recommend that we do what Councilor Burke stated. Okay, so our Assistant Administrator, Jenny Starts, we're gonna write up a letter that states that we as a council, we will require that this whole learning pods and everything that's going with the rec department, that this have its own communication. And I hope we can do that. As a legislative body, we're able to do that. So, which I don't know if Attorney Landrigan is here. I think we're able to do that. So, yes, sir? Okay, so we're gonna use our power, all right? And we're gonna make sure that, because this is vital, guys. This is vital. I am a school, and I don't want to elaborate more, but I'll say this. I am a school teacher, you guys know that. And I'm telling you, the struggle is real with the kids. I mean, with the internet, with everything, and just having, these learning pods across our city. It's great. It's a great, a resource for those kids that live in these neighborhoods. So, and it's all over. What I love is that we have some Ocean Beach. We have it all over the city. So it's great. So again, thank you, Councilor Burke, for the idea, and we're gonna make that happen. We're gonna get that letter out as soon as possible. So with that said, let's vote. And this is, nope, it's not a roll call. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Okay, so the motion carries. Again, I want to thank Executive Director Tommy Majors and also Assistant Director Busquet for tonight and for the conversation we had. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Okay, so at this time, we're going to continue and we're going to move on to the next one, which is Councilor Burke. 8.6.
8.6. This is Councilor Burke. Move the cam.
Second by President Pro Tem.
Okay.
The Councilor Burke, the City Council approves Ordinance 12720-01 in the amount of $11,344 made from a grant received through the state of Connecticut from the Federal CARES Act, HAVA1 and HAVA2 for the purposes of making polling places safe, securing election cybersecurity infrastructure, and expanding access to absentee ballots. The ordinance is given at the first and second readings in the process of passage by title only. All councilors having copies. The third subject for reading ordinance is adopted by roll call vote. Just one quick question through you, Mr. President. Do we still, David McBride. So just to clarify that these dollars were all for the previous 2020 general election. And just to out of curiosity, any reason why the ordinance, the appropriations ordinance came to us after the fact?
This is Director McBride. I don't know in regards to the timing, possibly the clerk can assist with that. But my understanding was they announced the award. However, the amount of the dollars was not provided to us in sufficient time. So this was the earliest we were able to provide it.
Got it. Thank you. And then just one other follow-up. So are these monies go entirely to the clerk's office, or is it a combination of the clerks and the registrar of voters?
I believe it's the entire clerk's office. It's specifically for the absentee ballot support to cover some of the payroll costs, as well as for this to make polls safe. It was all for the clerk's office.
Okay. No, this is Councilor Burke. No further questions. Thank you, Director.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. This is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Councilor Burke. Any other councilor wishes to discuss this any further? Okay, seeing none, we shall vote. This one is a roll call vote. City Clerk Ayala, are you present?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir, you go ahead.
Council Goodwin,
Yes.
Council Dice,
Yes. Oh,
Council Sarai,
Yes.
President Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Burke,
Yes.
President Pro Temp Natartes,
Yes.
and Council Goodwin.
That would make two for me, but yes.
Okay, there was a couple.
Well, Ayala.
Council Booker Jr., sorry.
Yes, Ayala.
You guys.
Can we just go with my initials?
I'm gonna leave this one alone. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. City Clerk Ayala, did you already say the votes? Did you?
7 yes, sir. 7 yes.
Thank you. This is President Dominguez speaking. Okay, so 8.6, the ordinance of polling place safety carries. All right. Was that? Oh, 8.10. 8.10, that is, did anybody call that one? And I think that was it. I think that was it. I need another motion. I need another motion. Who wants to?
Council Sadi, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
Council Booker, I second it.
Wait. President Pro Temp made the motion. I'm sorry. Can I get a second?
Second, Council Booker.
Council Booker. Okay. All right. So let's vote on that motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Nay. Okay.
Good night, everyone.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Ooh. What a day.
You guys too. Take care.
I tell you, congratulations again.